right, greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another Buster Wolf podcast. We're going to be talking about Dead or Alive, a franchise with a lot of jiggle physics for some warranted reason out there in the world, and a lot of people really love this game. I'm your host, Renegade Operative, and I like to introduce my panel. So first we have Rat.
This sure is a cool fighting game I got with my Aerosmith music video.
Next up is Brendel.
Hi. I'm definitely doing this podcast with one hand. I'll let you figure out what that means.
Man, the fuck? Oh, we'll just ignore that. We'll file that into the degenerate category. Next up is
the sus category.
Just like drill. So next up is the main one here, drill bit.
Yeah, well, good to be here.
Next one is Kaneki.
It's great playing DOA on my PlayStation 3 back then. Oh, wait. What is that? What am I moving the controller for? Oh.
A game where Mai will not exist as DLC anymore. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
There's certain physics if you move the controller back then. Oh, man. Technology.
We heard that on the last podcast, actually. Nikki brought that up. But
she knows.
Speaking of someone else, we have a female panelist here. So, Alia, introduce yourself.
Is my thing unmuted? It should be unmuted. There we go.
Yes.
It's been a bit. I will say for my intro slogan, Momiji with suspenders.
I remember that costume. I actually did like it.
Amen.
That was a good costume. I liked it. And it is time to start the show. So we have the first question here. As always, as we always say, how did you get introduced into DOA for the first time in history? What was your sort of experience with the franchise for the first time? I will start with Brandon first.
Yeah, mine is actually pretty simple. When I first moved here in Texas, I made acquaintance with my lifetime friend. When I went to his place several times, though, he introduced me to DOA with 3, because you could play on your Xbox 360. So it was the original Xbox game, right? So yeah, that's how I got into it. Essentially, I played 3. He told me how hot the girls were, right? And just fast forward a little bit, my first main was Christy. But essentially, I got in there because one of my friends had a copy of DOA 3 and 4, and we played that shit quite a bit.
Drillbit, how about you? How did you get into the series for the first time in history?
Honestly, I only ever saw it in like demos and trailers because I didn't have an Xbox, and they were always saying it was like the best looking fighting game on the market, which yeah, it did look really good. Probably, I don't know visually better than Tekken, but definitely very impressive. And then 5 came out, and then that's how I played it for the first time.
I think I started when DOA 2 was around, DOA 2 and DOA 3. That's when Xbox was like, they had their own counter magazine to the official PlayStation magazine, and with that Xbox program, I saw DOA 2 for the first time in there. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that demo disc, I was like, this is interesting, and I took it home with me, and that's how I played DOA 2 for the first time in history, and I thought it was really good, hard hitting, fast paced, everything was on point. And then I also picked up the demo for 3 like about a week afterwards, and that's how I got into it for the first time. Relatively simple, but I started playing them on console when they introduced the PlayStation 3, and they had all those PS2 downloads. And I remember DOA 2 Hardcore being one of those, and that's how I got my first DOA game officially, and I've been playing ever since then, all the way up until 6. Next up is Kaneki. How did you get into the series for the first time?
Initially, I had a small taste of the DOA experience back in the Xbox days, where if you had one of the Xbox demo disc, you could play a demo of DOA 3. Well, I don't think there was much characters to select from the demo, but Oh man, when I did play the demo at the time, it was visually appealing. From that Hulk Hogan lookalike Bash to the ninjas from Ninja Gaiden, Kasumi in particular. It's like, wow.
I mean, I think the devs have admitted that he's basically just a carbon copy of Hulk Hogan. I think at one point they tried to get him for the live action movie, but he was in surgery, so he recommended Kevin Nash.
And then, yeah, I'm surprised they used Kevin Nash as a backup. But then, the DOA 4, I wasn't an Xbox 360 owner at the time, but the one time I tried out the 360, I played DOA 4, and I was like, okay, this series has something going. It's got something I'm interested in terms of the mechanics, the characters, the content. And then DOA 5 is like, you know what? Let us expand all of that, but with more costumes. And then, the controller thing, you move it up and down with certain, and you see certain physics. I was like, okay. And that's how the series hooked me. The DOA 6 definitely unhooked me.
Rat, how about you? How did you get into the franchise for the first time in history?
I'm genuinely surprised at a lot of these answers. I figured it would have been the same as mine. Dead or Alive 2 on the Sega Dreamcast. I was introduced to this game because my friend told me that it was a 4-player fighting game. And I remember that night of just tag team matches from like dusk till dawn kind of thing. Of course, there was the game changing appeal of just stage transitions where if you knock someone off a stage, it's not a ring out. You just knock them off the stage onto a lower stage. And that was a big part of what set Dead or Alive apart from other fighting games for me.
Alia, it is your turn. What is your history with DOA for the first time in history?
So I didn't get into it immediately right away when I played it at first. So my mom's college friend, Ethan, had both the Dreamcast and the PS2, and somebody recommended him to pick up DOA 2 Hardcore Edition for both, because like he played Street Fighter and shite. And so one day when I was stuck there for a few hours while my mom had to go deal with some adulting drama, I played it, but then it kind of went to the back of my mind for a few years until I had an Xbox 360 because I saved enough money for my own. I had gotten the green Halo Xbox 360, the original one, with like the hard drive that you pop in and out. And one of the things that kept popping up in like the previews, because Xbox used to let you like watch previews and stuff, was like the online lobbies for Dead or Alive 4. There was the one that looked like the Little Mermaid, and I really, really wanted to play it. So then I got DOA 4 for the first time. I've had to accumulate multiple copies of DOA 4 over the years. Thankfully, the one I've had for like the last 10 years. But yeah, DOA 4 was like where I heavily got into it because of all like the customizable lobbies and stuff. And sometimes when you get annoyed with like playing Halo online, just jump over to Dead or Alive lobbies. They were much more chill and relaxed, and you kind of had your own lobby to play around in and invite people to, and vice versa. So that was really cool. Also, all the little character chibis and stuff that were in DOA 4 when you waddled around were really cool. So yeah, and then DOA 5 came along, and oh goodness, we all know how DOA 5 went. So many costumes. Thankfully, I bought DOA 5 multiple times. I know that sounds ironic saying thankfully, but I got the last round edition, which had all the costumes and stuff in it, that version of it. And so that's the one I pop in the most now. So yeah, DOA 4. We'll go with that.
All right, so we're moving to the meat and potatoes of the podcast, which is the gameplay. What are your thoughts on the gameplay and the introduction of the holds system, which is pairing? And I will start with Brandito first.
Yeah, for the core gameplay, I really liked it for how accessible it was. Because like at the time when I was finally starting to get into fighting games, right, particularly 3D again, because I have the MK games, right, but like they weren't as the movement wasn't as complex as Tekken or DOA, right? So like a different can of worms. Where you're dealing with MK versus like every other game of the site, right? But the what I found fascinating was the whole system because it gives you such a great reward on your reflexes and timing and all that, but also give you the best and worst punishment if you mess it up. And I kind of wish more games kind of had like a system similar to this, but that kind of makes what makes DOA unique and where a lot of its depth come from. Because people look at it as on a surface level as button mashy or has no skill or how it expresses its characters. But I absolutely love how in depth it has though, and unfortunately it doesn't get enough respect for the mechanical depth it has.
Drillbit, it is your turn. What are your general thoughts on the gameplay?
Honestly, I'm glad. Honestly, it does make it stand out from other 3D fighters and kind of has like sort of a rock paper scissors thing to it. Like I think I know I forget like what beats like punches. I think beats throws and then throw beats holds and holds beats punches. All that I think that's how it goes. I thought it was really cool because it kind of added its own sort of mind game, and you can't just mash, or else your opponent will just read you and then just put you in a hold. Although coming from playing Tekken, it was kind of weird to use the throw button instead of just pressing two buttons, but it definitely made it unique compared to other 3D fighters. Plus, if your opponent's guessing wrong, then they take a lot of damage. Honestly,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna end it off by saying, honestly, I actually like that DOA is kind of easy to pick up, but there's a lot of depth to it, and even a lot of sort of mind games that go with the hold and throw system.
Yeah, that's the main thing I like the most about this game since it's my turn. It's simple to play. It's one of those things where it's like simple to play, but when it comes to like true mastery of the game, it can take a large avenue of work. You just can't try to hold through everything, because if you do that, you're going to get obliterated by punish. And I was playing a little bit of it earlier online, and it's a push and it's a pull to it, but I think it works out for the gameplay like really, really well for this one. As for what I think of like just holds in general and stuff like that, again, like I said, it is very simple to learn. You just press square, but if you want to master it, like you do holds upwards, or you do like a mid, or you try to hold a kick, it's going to apply to a lot more application. I was reading up on game facts about how to do differing holds, and it can be, I want to say, a noggin knocker if you don't know how to do it with four-way holds, where it's just like, oh, this new discovery. And with DOA 6 online, it's like four-way holds all the fucking time. So yeah, I do appreciate the game for what it is. I do love the Fast and Furious gameplay. I do think at times where you're fighting and you want to maximize damage, yeah, there's four-way holds in DOA 6. But if you want to maximize damage, there's certain stages that kind of annoy me where you like knock someone into the floor, but then again, it's funny when it's the opponent receiving all that. I think one of the infamous memes is Jackie Bryant like doing a goddamn fucking bulldog to someone off a 30-story building. It's the stuff you do in this game is incredible, dude. But yeah, I think the gameplay is fun, furious, rewarding, and the punishments that you will get for either trying to spam too much, or because if someone's like attacking all the damn time, you could just low them and grab them too. I've seen that as well with Bateman. Definitely great gameplay across the board. 10 out of 10 for me, and I would like to see more improvements as well to it. I think they could do a little bit more with what we had to offer, and you see that incrementally from game to game to game. But it is Kaneki's turn. Kaneki, what do you think of the gameplay and the parry system in DOA?
It pretty much reminds me if Virtua Fighter was easy to pick up and has parries. Anytime you play DOA, that's what it reminds me of. Also, the fact that there's depth to it than just picking up and playing it is very surprising, considering you can sometimes get a 10 plus hit combos just from mashing buttons in some of the later DOA games. But the fact that they added the depth to it, you could do more than that if you know the timing of the combos and knowing what you're doing with the inputs. It is mind blowing.
Rad, it is your turn. What do you think of the hold system and the general gameplay of DOA?
So I'm not too fond of the hold system, to be perfectly honest. Fighting games are a rock, paper, scissors affair. That much is obvious to anyone. But holds feel like the rustiest scissors possible, because you have to know what type of attack your opponent's move is. Is it a high? Is it a mid? Is it a low? And when four-way holds come along, you have to know if it's a punch or a kick. There are obvious situations, like when your opponent wakes up, they're going to do like a get-up kick attack, and that's always mid. So you're at advantage when the opponent's getting up. But otherwise, it feels like if you're just hoping for a hold on a specific attack, it's, well, tough shit. Here's damage and more. So it's unless you're completely in the know and you have everyone's offense memorized, it's just offense has the advantage in this game. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes holds into way too high of a risk if you're trying to stop a moving tornado.
Alia, it is your turn. What do you think of the general gameplay in Dead or Alive?
I have a little bit of a more balanced approach to it. I see the both sides as either you really like it or you really, really hate it. I feel like, especially in the beginning, it was pretty much like someone had mentioned, a straightforward Virtua Fighter type game, and that is because they also kind of based it around the source code of Virtua Fighter at first and things like that, as a way to save Tecmo from going into debt, all that stuff. If you don't know that story, it's a really cool thing to look into. As far as later on in the series, I felt like they got to the point where they were a little bit more balanced about it, and then they started adding in, of course, their own stuff, like the throwing each other off of different platforms and things. However, around 6, when it first came out, it became a little too button mashy for my taste. They did eventually balance it out to where you can't just continue to smash that fatal blow over and over and over again, which helped a little, but by that time, it had already been like 6 months since the game came out, and now in modern times, that kind of kills the game, combined with other things we'll mention later, probably. And so I feel like it has some really, really good elements, like the reversal system, and then also the grab system is actually pretty decent. Like, there are a lot of games, especially 3D fighters in the early 2000s, where the grab system is just so flippin' broken. I know somebody had mentioned, like, off script here, off the mic, Bloody Roar. Bloody Roar, for example, had like a really, really broken grab system in the 4th game. So compared to a lot of its like predecessors and the games that came around at the same time that were 3D fighters, it did a really good job at balancing that as much as it could with as low of a budget as they had at the time for the first few games, especially. So there's pluses and minuses as you go throughout all the mechanics, I feel like.
We're about to hit question number 3, which is top 5 favorite characters of DOA, whether male or female, and we will start with Brandon first.
Oh shit! Kind of put him in the spot here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, for females though, in no particular order, I like Kasumi, of course. Well, you know what? I'm gonna actually exclude the ninjas. Just look, at least leave one in. I'll probably leave in Momiji because she's my favorite ninja in the Gaiden verse, right? I'll just leave her. Next will be Christy. Then Helena, because of course, right? Yeah, fuck you, Joe. Let's see, number 4. Who would be number? I guess maybe Rachel. She's technically not a ninja, but she's from Ninja Gaiden, so I'll put Rachel on number 4. Number 5, though. Who that would be? Oh, Li Feng. This probably like a generic answers there, though, but yeah, that's my list.
Drill, it's your turn. Pick your favorite 5 characters of DOA.
Yeah, come back to me with the males, though, because like the males, that's gonna be a hard one.
Oof. Well, that is a tough one. But yeah, in no particular order. I'd probably... Man, that is a tough one. I'd probably say Kokoro. Also, obviously, Momiji, Kasumi. Probably Ayane, and... Damn, this is a really tough one. I think I'll probably squeeze in Hitomi. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's fine enough. I guess it's my turn.
Oh, I was saying, is that 5?
Yeah. It could be, if you can't think of 5, I think it could be whatever number you want.
I wanted to say Mila as well, but I think he told me a bit more, so sadly she'll have to be left out.
Honorable mention. Mention. All right.
Honestly, just a quick note. Mm-hmm. Honestly, most of the male characters I think are just kind of boring, aside from Hayate and obviously Ryu.
Oh man, male characters.
That's just my opinion, though. Oh, you can go, Ren.
No, I was just thinking of male characters. That one is kind of a hard one since it's less of them, but it is a few I like. All right, I'm not gonna do 5 for that one. I'm gonna be different and say I do like Ian, or he's basically, if it's just alternate version of Hayate, but a little bit of amnesia in the process. So I'm gonna do that. I think another character, obviously Hayabusa. I mean, Hayabusa is a very generic answer. It's probably going to be for the male list, but come on. I mean, he's from Ninja Gaiden, super cool ninja, badass, hardcore. Does the Azuna drop in this game as well, which I heavily appreciate. Next is Bayman. I've been kind of having some low-key matches with Bayman, and I honestly like the guy. I like his grabs and everything. Just he has a very interesting grab system from what I gather. And I was doing survival, and I was doing like these low sort of putting people in figure 4 leg locks and stuff like that. And I love wrestling stuff so much, his sambo moves, so that's pretty cool to see with him. And Zack is another male character I like. I think if I want to just play a match and be stupid, I pick Zack because he literally has this ironclad Pikmin looking outfit, and it is the most diabolical and funny thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life, and I always wear that thing in DOA 5, so that much is pretty much a given. And that's all I got for males. Females, obviously Kasumi. She's a good one. I main her in 6. Ayane, I've been maining since the beginning of time, so she's like probably one of my favorite DOA female characters. I also like Hitomi, although I don't use her that much, but I remember making Nero mad with her because I was beating him in a corner and he couldn't do anything about it. So that's when I started picking up that character. And as for the last one, shit, because I might not even can't think of 5 because I don't mean like everybody. I'm gonna go with what is her name? Hanukkah. I've been using her a lot in DOA 5 and she's pretty cool. So I like her moves and everything, hard hitting. That's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go with her and say she's my last one. Honorable mention Rig. I'm a beast with Rig. So I love that character to death, and I'm glad he came back for 6, and that's about it for me personally. Also, Brandon, you were saying something?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean on you. I was laughing when you said we happened with Nero.
Oh yeah, that's the first time I picked up Hitomi when I was like just punishing him in the corner, and he was calling me like an asshole and everything. It's pretty damn funny.
When was this? I feel like I remember.
It was when we did DOA 4. That was when that happened.
Damn. Wow.
It is Kaneki's turn though. Top 5 favorite characters in the roster.
I only have for females. My only top male is was Hayabusa. That's it. For females, we got the list. We got Mai as number 1. Let's see. Ayane would be second, but number 1 in terms of the main DOA roster. I think Kasumi would be right behind it. And then I would pick Mila and what's her face? Not Hitomi. Neo Tengu? Yeah, those are my picks. I don't got much on the males besides Hayabusa.
Rad, good sir. I'm gonna pass the baton over to you. Favorite characters, male or female?
I've made separate lists for each of them. We're obviously including guest characters in here.
Yes.
All right, so Jan Lee is at the tippy top of the male list. There's just something about running forward and dragon kicking a motherfucker. So he's at the top of the list. There's Jackie Bryant, because I have an affinity towards Virtua Fighter characters, and Jackie is basically the Jan Lee of Virtua Fighter. I did like Ein and his like story and premise and how the life of Ein changes compared to the life of Hayate. And of course you have to have Ryu Hayabusa. I mean, it's the main guy of Ninja Gaiden, and he's in a fighting game, and he can Izuna drop people with that iconic "oh" as he does it. What's not to love? And then rounding it out is Rig by far, because Taekwondo representation was really cool to see in Dead or Alive, even if the overall look of the character is about as plain as marshmallows. And speaking of female characters, this was a difficult list to make, admittedly, in terms of ranking, but when it came down to it, my number 1 for this game is Momiji, because she's the middle ground between the speedy, fast Kasumi and the powerful Hayabusa. She has the Izuna drops, she has the mix-up attacks, she has both conventional and unconventional outfits, which make her ideal to be played in public. Sarah Bryant's at number 2, and Sarah and Momiji are fighting to the death in my head as we speak. But Sarah Bryant, again, I have an affinity towards Virtua Fighter, and there's something about playing Sarah in Dead or Alive compared to Virtua Fighter that just feels so correct in like terms of doing basic combos with her. Hitomi was my number 3, which was a physical attraction when I've played Dead or Alive 3, but in between then I had this like badass karate girl who's trying to prove herself in the eyes of her father. Granted, that went down the tubes in later games where she just became a comedy act who can't make an honest breakfast to save her life. Ayane is number 4 because when I played Dead or Alive Dimensions, she was my main and carried me through a lot of the online and modes, which we'll get to when we talk about Dimensions. And then honestly, Kula Diamond. When I wanted an SNK character in this game, I was rooting for Athena, but they added Kula to Dead or Alive 6, and Well, she's the best part of DOA 6 to me because she can freeze people in place and it's basically it's basically a free special combo. I think that makes up the list pretty well.
Alia, it is your turn. What is your favorite and top 5 DOA characters on the roster?
So I had done them all together, so I will go through the 5 I've written down, because as usual I take notes prior to us starting. And then I'll probably add in some other that I like. But as far as like from 1 to 5 in particular order, of course Momiji is like the character I play the most. We've already been through this multiple times. Number 2 being Hayabusa. Number 3 being Kasumi Alpha. Now, I do want to preface, I don't mean Phase 4 or Alpha 152. I mean Kasumi Alpha from Dead or Alive 2 and 3, who actually is just like a strawberry blonde Kasumi and is one of the ones that like realized she actually was not Kasumi, unlike the rest. And then 4 will be Lei Fang, and then 5 Kokoro. I actually quite like Kokoro's moveset, and I like the fact that like her costumes are traditional for the most part. Of course, there are some fan servicey ones, but I like the fact that with her, they kind of didn't do as many overtly fan servicey ones, which was interesting. I kind of, with Tecmo, expected them to go over, because they've, with the characters being not of age has never stopped them in the past. But with her being like 14 in the original game she appeared in being 5, or was it 4? It was 4 or 5. They actually like restrained themselves on the costumes and just kind of let her moveset and her traditional garb speak for itself, really, as far as making people like her, which I quite enjoyed. As far as like other male characters I enjoy, I kind of also like Ain. I like Hayate by himself too, but I feel like Ain, his Ain counterpart, was where I like really enjoyed him up until DOA 6, where he kind of got some more character development again, and then I kind of latched on again for him as a character. But yeah, Momiji is just like one of those characters, Momiji and Hayabusa, where I'll probably mention this again later, but like they're so intertwined in not only Dead or Alive, but Ninja Gaiden and all of Ninja Gaiden's games, that it makes it really, really easy to digest that Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden are the same exact world. They're not like, oh, this is a guest character from a whole nother world. No, they are literally happening at the same time in the same storyline, coherent with each other, and happening. One game happens here, another game happens here, and you can kind of like put it together as you continue on with both series, which is a really nice thing, instead of just throwing them in there from another Tecmo series and being like, well, here, look, there's this guest character. The fact that they actually kind of built them into the game. I also liked Kula Diamond and Mai being added. Mai being added to 5. Again, they did a thing where they kind of tried to make it seem as if the King of Fighters world and Dead or Alive are the same world. They also did that when Dead or Alive appeared in the King of Fighters All-Stars game. And I don't know, I just like, it makes the characters feel less money grabby when they actually intertwine them into the story. And so that kind of makes me enjoy the characters more, instead of just be like, oh, yay, there's this character from this other game that I really like. Oh, wait, they're actually intertwined in the story. Yay! Type of situation.
I know Brandon wanted to correct his list, so I'm going to let him do that right now before we move on to the next one.
I'm gonna start with the female list. Actually, I'm gonna do slight changes. So, number 1 is still gonna be Momiji. Because again, she's my favorite ninja, and I'm only going to keep one ninja on the list because if I literally say all the ninjas, that's literally all my female list right there, right? So, with that in mind, Momiji, Tina Armstrong. Like, I was also a team main for a while though, and she was one of my favorite characters for a hot minute. Christy, my original main, and Helena Douglas. And following Lisa Hamilton, the wrestler from DOA 4. I don't know how to say her name, so you guys gotta say it for me. So for the male characters, top one is obviously Ryu Hayabusa, one of the most recognizable characters across Koei Tecmo as a whole. So Ryu is number one. No ifs, ands, or buts. Number two, though, I'm actually gonna put Hayate. I do think he's kind of an underrated character, but both him and Ian, like, probably some of the more interesting character development he has in the series, personally. Next would be Jane Lee, because the goofy rivalry between him and Ryu and his fighting style is freaking great. If you play Ninja Gaiden, you know that rivalry between him and Ryu is one-sided, all things considered. And I'm just going to give one more. That would be Akira from DOA in DOA 5 from Retro Fighter. Now, keep in mind, too, I'm not the biggest Retro Fighter fan, but I did like playing them in DOA, particularly Akira. I don't know why, but he just felt so right to play. Oh, yeah, that's my list. My corrections are done. Let's move on.
I just want to say one thing. I didn't mention this, but I mentioned it in chat here. The tag team intros in DOA 5 were so fucking awesome. I liked the Ian Hayate like intro where he just like steps out from him like a shadow, and then he turns his back around and he faces the opponent. That shit is fucking cool. I loved it, dude, so much.
Yeah, tag team is a dying art, and I'm so glad DOA kept it in their games. As far as like 3D fighters are concerned,
yeah.
But my God, their intros, the attention to detail in their games though is just top notch.
Yeah, I always like the tag team ones you could do with Momichi and Ryu, and Momichi calls him Master Ryu.
Mm-hmm.
I always like that they showed that she has like mutual respect for him.
I mean, better. He's above her.
Yeah. He's the master ninja. But we're moving on to the next question. Name a character that you struggle fighting against, whether it's online, offline, and this includes annoying boss battles as well in DOA. Brandon, it is your turn. You go first.
Okay, well, this is going to be the easy one for me. Was it Jackie from Retro Fighter? My God, he is the parry king. I hate fighting his AI. It's not fun fighting him, man. Aside from that, though, in terms of bosses, I think it varies from game to game or general. Because like DOA 4 probably has the most annoying AI to fight against sometimes because they can perfect parry you almost every single time. But I'm gonna go with Raido, either Raido or the Tengu from DOA 2, because that camera perspective change really didn't hit for me.
Drill, it is your turn. What is the most annoying person or boss to fight in DOA?
Honestly, hard to say. Maybe like Phase 4 or Raido. I remember those bosses being really annoying. But it's been a while since I've played arcade mode.
And that's your answer so far?
Honestly, I remember fighting a friend who used Hitomi a lot, and they kept annoying me a lot with her. But that was years ago. But yeah, that's my answer.
I'm trying to think. I have a couple of mentions. So mine's a little bit weird as in terms of like regular opponents. I don't like fighting fucking Christies because like they just are a poke city. That's all they do is they will poke you to death and you will take it. So you got to be really good with holds, which is why I like to pick Jackie against her, because Christy is very annoying to me personally. But she's not like number one. I would say probably a third tier on the list. Alpha 152, fuck her and everything she stands for. I don't like this character. The fact that she can do those like cartwheel kicks all day as a boss in DOA 4 just pisses me off to no end in sight, really. And bringing her back in 5 and putting her playable also annoyed me to fucking tears, especially when she would teleport all the time. So I don't like that character at all. And
Sorry.
in terms of in terms of anyone else, I would say Omega from DOA 3. That boss is a piece of garbage. Not only do they do the weird camera thing, and I don't know why they keep doing this, where you're not fighting on like a sort of 2D looking plane or whatever. It's like they switch the camera from behind the back, and it's all weird, and it's fire everywhere, and you have to reach the boss, and he's doing like these powerhouse moves on the ground shakes. You have to block them and run towards the boss. He's very annoying with them doing this, and I remember really hating it when I was fighting him yesterday. So yeah, just those in particular, and yeah, the motion blur is awful, dude. It's like I'm watching someone blur paint on the side of the road. It's like, what the fuck am I watching with all this fire and motion blur? It's a terrible boss. So I would say those are my top picks for either annoying bosses or annoying enemies to fight personally. Kaneki, it is your turn. Who do you not like fighting in DOA? It could be a boss or a general character.
The things I hate fighting the most in DOA is mostly U ranked players, like the letter U ranked players in DOA. The online is fucking stupid. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything with DOA's online. Have you been playing DOA online for like the longest time, since 4? Then you realize that high ranked players that goes beyond the S rank, they'll sweat to no end to where you can't even land a hit on them. It's like they're worse than fighting bosses from DOA 3 to 5. Even those players are harder to fight than Rido. It's unbelievable.
I'm only on D rank, and when I ran into a S plus player, I got my shit pushed into the concrete. I was like, yeah, I'm only at D rank. Please go easy on me. No, Hitomi, no. So I was crying into a corner for the last 30 minutes before this podcast.
Well, S is no longer the highest rank. It's U.
I haven't seen a U player, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a guarantee L as soon as it happens.
There is
Oh,
U
boy.
plus in DOA 6.
U plus? Oh no.
Oh, but wait, there's more. L rank. Okay, Brandon. Rat, it is your turn. What is an enemy you don't like to fight? Whether it's a general like character on DOA, or it could be a boss, or maybe some bad experiences online.
So I have an online and an offline answer, because when it comes to playing this game online, I can't stand Mila players whenever they happen, because the second you are tackled, damage just happens, and it's much like fighting King in Tekken. It feels like it's out of your control unless you know precisely what to do at that exact moment, or the Mila players just fuck up, which is more than half the time. But it's like, even when it happens, it's just, I'm completely free to that entire mechanic. Offline, I feel like people have mentioned like all the mean, terrible boss fights, but I'm gonna say Rido at the end of DOA 6's story mode. Like, imagine you're fighting a tough boss, and occasionally your little brother comes in, covers your eyes, and says, "Guess who?" That is Rido in DOA 6. The screen goes black for a couple of seconds randomly, and you have no means of stopping this. It's there, and you don't know what the fuck's going on, so just press buttons and pray. It's like, yeah, Alpha 152 is a mess because she could take 50% of your life on a counter. Genra's a mess because you're fighting that fight in third person, but nothing compares to the complete lack of visibility that happens in that match. It's like Koei Tecmo could not go one game without an annoying gimmick for their final fights.
Alia, it is your turn. What are some annoying fights that you had against other people in DOA? Or it could be a boss or a general character that you don't like.
I want to make a joke. Those of us who actually have younger brothers who have liked to cover our eyes during boss battles, much agree with that is how the Raido fight at DOA 6 ending does go. Yeah. I was gonna say Raido, but I was actually gonna say so this might be weird. I actually hated him more in DOA 5 playing online and stuff than I did in DOA 6. Though DOA 6 is annoying with the sudden bloop 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 bloop, like he's Shadow the frickin' Hedgehog. But online more than Raido, honestly, I hate fighting Brad Wong. Oh my god, the people who just spam the drinking and then kicking and drinking and kicking and drinking and kicking. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the penalty and just quit because, like, dude, learn the buttons, please. It's not even like something you can't counter. It's just more so the annoyance of when you're actually playing and trying to like have a matchup and somebody doesn't even want to put in the work to actually learn the character. Like, if that's your favorite character to play online, that's fine. But take the time to actually learn the character. If you have no idea what you're doing whatsoever, I feel like if you just suck at the game and you want to play online, that's one thing. But if you literally just picked up the game, you should be learning the game before you go straight to online. uh so yeah, that one was my most annoyance, because especially when like DOA 5 and DOA 6 had the free online thing, Brad was always free to play, and I'm like, oh my god, now we're just having a bunch of people who have never touched a fighting game in their life pressing the same button. Yay! So that's more just a personal pet peeve, especially when like rookie players try to join tournaments and stuff like the Electronic Sports League. I know in 2018 when DOA 6 came out and there was the Core Fighters released the same day and day with DOA 6, we had so many people because of the integration between PS4 and the Electronic Sports League, which was really nice because it made it easier to fill out the forms and stuff, because I could just do it on my PS4 whenever I'm signing up for tournaments. I did it for Mortal Kombat that way, and it was fine. But like the amount of people who joined the DOA 6 tournament and just had no idea how to play, it made the whole entire like tournament seem very freaking frustrated, because we had a bunch of people who had no idea what they're doing joining. So that's just a personal pet peeve. Brad Wong sucks.
Moving on to question number 5, we're going to be talking about the general story, lore, backstories, and detail of that for DOA. Have you been paying any attention to it whatsoever? And we will start with Rat first.
The story is ass, man. It feels like Dead or Alive had story thrust upon it. I say this without fully understanding the details, but I remember DOA 5's story just being a complete blur that happened to have a tournament in it. And DOA 6's story about we have to make Honoka as relevant as possible. So, boom, she's another Rhino daughter, miraculously. And now it feels like 6's story ends with this question mark on whether or not Maria's alive or not. It's like, I don't care. You were focusing on characters like Honoka and Marie Rose, and I could not care less about these characters, and they've taken over the franchise because they decided to make story important. So I don't love the story of DOA. I understand it has to have one because it's to be expected from the fighting game genre, but whatever they have is just like, no thank you, get it out of my face. Let's just be a tournament. It's more interesting to see Hitomi make the finals than it is to deal with any of this ninja nonsense.
Brandito.
Oh, sorry. See, like I'm not as harsh as Red is though, but I understand the sentiment wholeheartedly. Because for one, though, I was actually into the lore of DOA. Because the whole premise is about Kasumi's clan, Alcinair and all that stuff, right? I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty details. We'll be here all day for that shit, right? I liked it initially because of how things started. DOA 1 to DOA 2 with Ryo Hayabusa stepping his foot in because he became the winner of the second tournament. DOA 3, Ayane became the winner of that tournament. 4, I actually don't remember who won that tournament. And then 5, I think it was what was that girl? Not Li Fang. It's one of Ayane's rivals, I think. I think won the tournament for that one. But either way, see, the premise was pretty fun and straightforward, right? Problem is, though, starting with 5, though, they try to make it a little too complex for its own good. But
I'm sorry to interrupt. I thought Jan Lee won 5.
oh, it was Jan Lee. Thank you. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah, because it was Jan Lee and Hitomi in the finals, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. You were correct, though. I couldn't remember who it was, though. You're right. Thank you. But that doesn't bother me, though. What bothered me is them centering the series now around Marie Rose and Hanukkah. I'm like, why? They're nothing special. They're nothing but jailbait. But on a serious note, though, I'm like, they had nothing special going on for them. In the case of Hanukkah, right, like, she's nothing but a blank slate. Now, his thing, though, I do like her fighting style, that she copied people's fighting style, or whatever, right? But for the love of fuck, why is she related to Raito? Like, seriously, you didn't have to make her intertwined with the fucking story like this. Other characters have their own purpose and stories without being directly related or too intertwined with the ninjas. Like, you may have your goofy ass rivalries with like Ryu and Jan Lee, right? But that's about it. It's just a little fun rivalry. Nothing more, nothing about them being sisters or any stupid shit like that. So, and DOA 6, that's a game I played the least of, but the story was so bad. I kid you not, that whole twist of her being related to Raito made me hate the character even more. Because I hate how Team Ninja pushed the fucking character so much. To a point where I'm like, okay, there's nothing special about these guys. Why are you here? Fuck them. I thought the Raito thing was bad, but no. Sorry, but Marie Rose and Hanukkah, like, those two being pushed, made me hate Raito's return even more. I'm sorry for ranting off like this, though, but I had to get off my chest. Like, Team Ninja effectively crippled their freaking fun lore storytelling starting with DOA 5. DOA 5 is not the worst offender, but it's the beginning of the offense.
I think we can reach a conclusion and an agreement to delete Raito from any and all of these games. I'm gonna refer to him as the very evil Heihachi because I mean essentially that's what he is.
That's saying a lot too.
That's what he is.
Considering Heihachi is already the evil Heihachi.
Well, more evil, like just the darkest you can get. I don't have much to say on the plot of these games, but if I hate one character, it's Raito, so just fucking get rid of him and I would be super happy about that.
You know what's funny though? Is all of the games would be so much more peaceful if he was not there. If he would have just been killed in the first game after what he did. We would not have all this conflict and war.
If Ayane didn't exist though because of Raito, that would be unfortunate. But even still, like if he wasn't around, things would be a lot more peaceful.
So it's like he's the cycle of the chain of events, really.
Yeah, more or less.
Drill, what do you think of the plot lines of DOA?
Honestly, I don't keep up with the stories too much, but I do remember a lot of people really disliking sixes. And it made me think maybe if they ever do DOA 7 or whatever it's called, maybe they should just reboot it. Like start fresh.
Yeah, because at this point, I don't think you could save it at this rate.
But things so if they do that, then they would also need to reboot Ninja Gaiden, and in return, they'll also need to reboot Neo because that's also canon to Ninja Gaiden's verse as well.
Yeah.
So. That is a bit more complex than just simply starting over from scratch with DOA.
Also, Dynasty Warriors actually is officially tied to DOA. because
Really?
of the Ultimate Warriors All-Star series.
Yeah,
right,
but
so the character that
the
crossover.
most canon thing to Chinese and Japanese history. Of course, they're all connected.
but I feel like the way I think is that if they have nowhere to go with the story at this point, they should just reboot.
If you're going
But-
to do a reboot, at least make it soft to be like, well, we're diverting away from this Raito storyline and we're gonna focus on something more simple like the tournament.
Yeah, they can definitely still continue on the story though. They need to hard reboot it because again, that will create more problems considering how many games or series are connected into one. You can't just reboot it simply like that.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, initially the rumor was, oh, hey, we may reboot DOA, but I think if you're gonna do it, then a soft reboot will be in order. So everything did happen, but you can start anew and start with a tournament and make it simple, as opposed to it seems like everyone just hates everything past 5, so it makes sense.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
have a problem. I wouldn't have a problem with a storyline around a tournament or maybe a political struggle within Doatek. It's basic, but it's
It will
within the
work.
Dead or Alive universe.
As long
Yeah,
as they don't, do like multiverse stuff.
I don't think they would
okay.
go down that route, but
let's not do that.
don't
Because
do that.
it worked so well for MK1.
I don't even think it's a need for DOA's sake.
I got a trivia actually. Would you guys believe me if I told you that DOA 1 through 4 took place in 1 year?
No.
No, I always thought it was like through
Actually,
several
yes.
years.
No, it's not several years because DOA 5 takes place 2 years after 4, and that's the biggest jump we ever had.
Actually,
So
yes, because when playing DOA 1 through 4, they rarely aged, so I could understand why you said that, or why it's not even
Yeah,
like
that's
a
the
year.
thing. They don't age at all, right? At worst,
I always
think
thought it
maybe
was like a
still
moving timeline.
No, at worst, I think the characters may age maybe by a slight year because like it's so close to their birthdays. But other than that, like no, like the only 1 through 4 take place within 1 whole year or.
Are you
adjacent to 1 year.
telling me this fucking series put out 4 tournaments in 1 year?
Yeah, yeah.
They don't even get a break or anything.
Oh my god!
And I might add too, the Venus games are canon, I believe. So
You're making me hate this franchise now.
Hold
Thank you.
Hold on. I'll explain a little. So yeah, it's not exactly one like exact year. It's a little more than that, but yes, generally. So Helena's father, I don't know if you guys have read any of the spin-off books or anything, is a greedy, money-hungry Blair, as we've kind of been hinted on. So yeah, like the constant tournaments are kind of like his thing to make money because they have to pay to like do admission and shit.
That is interesting.
Like with normal tournaments and stuff, and like then whoever wins gets the prize money and the blah 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 type stuff. So that actually somewhat makes sense.
That's interesting. I did not know that. But
yeah.
I didn't know that it all took place in 1 year, but I guess that may explain it when you jump from DOA 1 to 2 to 3, because yeah, everyone's relatively the same age, yeah.
And you notice how they never really leave the general area they were in at the last tournament before they get called back.
Yeah, so it all makes sense. This hurts my brain. Okay.
Yeah, especially once you mix in the XTREME games. I always thought those were non-canon.
No, they are canon. They are their downtime.
They were canon? What the
Yeah,
fuck?
they totally are.
Yeah, I might add to it, right? Being as canon to Ninja Gaiden, right? So that means that Ryu had to deal with Ninja Gaiden 1 first, then the DOA verse 1 through 4, and then Ninja Gaiden 2, and then 3.
How much work has this man been putting in? What the fuck? That's insane.
Master Ninja's work is never done.
That's insane.
Hayabusa is literally a demon hunter, so like even if he wanted to sleep, he does not really get a whole lot of sleep. He has to go hunt demons.
There's a reason why he retired at the age of in his 20s, bro, in the earlier NES games. Bro gave up and opened a shop in New York.
Yeah, he was like, I'm gonna sell used electronics. I'm done.
Man, been through some shit.
Wow, and he's definitely not done with the fourth game coming out.
My call to action is over, but several years later, I fight some kid and I'm gonna kick his ass. That's what he's doing right now.
Amen.
Also, do you guys realize that, like, in the current timeline, Hayabusa is technically in his 30s?
How the That
what
blows
a
my
fucking
mind.
old man.
what a
Does not
old
look
man.
old. That's the best part.
Yeah, he should be in his 30s by now.
That's
But we
like-
don't know
that's like
what they would do.
Ancient in Japanese fiction.
But yeah, he trained the new for the new Ninja Gaiden. He trained the new guy. So yeah, he's officially the master now.
That is amazing.
I think we can move on now because like we've been on this for a hot minute.
Oh, yeah, just fuck Rhino, hashtag, put it everywhere. Just fuck that character and delete him. All right, we are moving on to the next question. Let me grab my phone real quick. Hold on. There we go. All right, so we're focusing on DOA Dimensions. Has anyone played that game, heard of it? If so, what are your thoughts on it in general? I'm gonna go with Brandon first.
Okay, so I have played it a little bit though, just from hands-on experience. Essentially, it's just like DOA 5 on the go, or more like DOA 4, I guess. But it's not my favorite way to experience a game for one particular reason. Again, I actually do care enough about the lore and whatnot. They tried to rewrite some things within DOA Dimensions, and it's been proven to be unpopular with the fandom. They actually care about this stuff because they revoked a lot of stuff in DOA 6, confirming the events of the numbered games and not the events of Dimensions. Essentially, they make it like a compilation of all the stories from 1 through 4, I believe. And they changed some certain things up, and they included they added in stuff with, say, Ryu, for example. He's more upfront in a lot of these stories, whereas before he wasn't. That's one change that people didn't care for, so they obviously didn't acknowledge that in DOA 6 and whatnot, and also little minor changes that I won't go into detail about. But essentially, Dimensions is not my favorite way to experience DOA, both from a gameplay and a story standpoint.
Rat, how about you? Have you played DOA Dimensions? And if so, what do you think about it?
Oh, I have played it. I played it when it first came out. I have a lot of fond memories of Dead or Alive Dimensions because of the online. You and a friend could go through that game's tag challenge, which are 20 fights. And some of them start basic, but then you start getting into the fight that we started banging our heads against like 100 times before we finally beat it. You fight Raido and Shiden in a tag match. And Shiden, for those of you who don't know, is the Lord and Master of Mugen Tenshin. He's Kasumi's father. And so you fight those two, and it's the hardest fight in the game. I just remember the elation when we finally conquered that fight. But that's the most vivid memory I have with Dimensions, it being on the 3DS and how good the online was. I do remember the story being a compilation of past Dead or Alive games, which isn't a bad thing to get people on board with DOA in case they didn't own an Xbox. But yeah, definitely an underrated member of the Dead or Alive family, specifically because of the platform it's on. But it's a pity. It's a pity the online doesn't work anymore because Tag Challenge Online is an absolute blast.
Drill, how about you? Have you played
Yes,
DOA
I've
Dimensions?
actually played this game a bit on the 3DS. I played it at first at a demo, and then I picked up a copy later. And honestly, it's not a bad portable fighter for what it is. It's kind of wild that this one predated 5, and honestly, it was pretty fun. I heard the story mode wasn't very good, but it's a solid fighting game. And I always like the features they use with the 3DS, where you have the moveset on the bottom screen. At least it made combos easier to learn. Not to mention, I think it's the only. Not to mention, it had like a Metroid stage in it, which was wild. Like,
The fucking other M stage where if you knock someone off, Ridley fucking drags them across because they developed other M together. That's why the stage is there.
yeah,
But
but I'm
yeah, it
honestly
was definitely
surprised.
an eye catcher.
Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't just put Zero Suit Samus as a playable fighter.
You have to knock on Nintendo's door for that.
Yeah, like they already had the Metroid state. They should have had Samus playable too.
They were like, "You must give us more money. It is the only way we're going to do it."
I never tried online on it, but I can't imagine what the netcode must have been like playing on Wi-Fi on the 3DS.
It was honestly a really solid online experience. I mentioned I did Tag Challenge with a friend of mine, and it was actually fluid as water.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of sad we don't have like weird handheld titles like these anymore. Like when we had Guilty Gear on the Game Boy Advance or Tekken 6 on PSP. Like you just don't see it happening anymore. Like even if Switch 2 were to get any fighting games, it's just going to be port of console games. They're not going to make like a specific Tekken just for Switch 2 or a specific DOA. But yeah, honestly, it's one of the most solid fighters you could get on 3DS, considering considering there weren't too many to pick from. I guess unless you want to play Super Street Fighter 4 on it
Yeah,
and do like
it was like the 3DS had a flood of them at launch, like Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, eventually Tekken, and then Smash 3DS, and then they just kind of stopped, other than like licensed fighters.
and
There was
then they,
actually a smaller series, which I think was almost as good. The Cross Zone series, which is a Bandai Namco series,
Yeah, which
full
are
of all
sadly
their stuff.
RPGs.
yeah,
Ah,
it was.
It should have been fighters.
I
don't
mean, if you
care.
had a fighting game, you could have a team of Phoenix Wright, Cosmos, and Chris Redfield.
Trying to make his MVC right there in the making.
Yeah. But but yeah, that's all I have to say on it. I actually had some fond memories of it.
Alia, it is your turn. Have you played DOA Dimensions?
yes. So I actually have a different perspective. So I didn't have a 3DS until like a couple years ago, which I actually sent you a picture when I first got my DS. I had the original DS, but I didn't get the 3DS till later. I have the Japanese version, and so like there is some additional like DLC content and stuff. Not really like anything extraordinary. But even from like the game being a decade old at this point, it actually plays really well. There's actually still like fan run servers for it, but you gotta know how to like set up your DS and shite, which is a lot of work, and I honestly
I'll
have
let
not
Nintendo listen
wanted
to
to do it.
this.
It's
They're gonna shut that
Shush.
down real quick.
Shush. But yeah, I think I think that's actually is pretty good. I did like I said, a lot of like I mentioned like Alpha, the original Alpha, Kasumi Alpha. I liked her return in Dimensions and stuff. It was nice to have a lot of like nods to parts of the story that have kind of get thrown by the wayside over the years as they just kind of went from game to game to game to game to game to game and jumped from console to console and constantly like especially with the original Team Ninja team splitting off after DOA 4 and stuff. It seemed like you could tell there was a little bit of a jumbled mess of new writers and stuff trying to get a hold of the story. And I feel like even though they did make some changes in Dimensions that people were really really angry about, I think that was the new writers coming in and trying to really like connect all the pieces that were kind of jumbled throughout the transitional period. And I think they did a pretty good job of it, considering like what they were working with, and that Dimensions was not like planned years in advance. It was literally like, oh look, DOA 5 is doing really well. Let's put out a DS port. So it was like right in the bridge between DOA 4 and DOA 5 just coming out and stuff. I think they did really well with it. The graphics are actually pretty insane for a 3DS. There's a couple games that like for 3DS just how the hell did you fit this on a 3DS? Type stuff. And I think Dimensions is one of those, with like the graphics still not looking like they're on a toaster oven. Like if you have, I don't know if you guys have seen like the 4K export of the cutscenes from the 3DS game, but like they still look pretty dang good. So that's kind of one of those things where it makes you wonder how they did it in such a short period of time and managed to fit it all on the one cartridge instead of being like, oh crap, we're gonna have to split this into 2 games. But also I understand like some of it people were just angry about. They're like, why is this exclusive to the 3DS? Why is this a 3DS game to begin with? Why aren't you, adding more content to the games we already have, and yada yada yada. I remember that was kind of a thought process on the forums back then. God, I feel old. Forums. I still use forums though. But I think they did a pretty good job at branching. Like I said, the main thing I think they were trying to do with Dimensions is branch all the different threads together into a nice dead or alive sweater that is usable. If that metaphor connects. I hope that metaphor connects. It sounded better in my autistic brain than I think it makes sense. I don't know.
Kaneki, it is your turn. Have you played DOA Dimensions on 3DS?
Yes, I have. And luckily, when I bought DOA Dimensions, I didn't have to unlock all the characters because the specific cart I bought it had all the characters unlocked. So I'm assuming it had to have been a used, because thank you to whoever played it before and unlocked all the characters before I bought this copy. It saved me a lot of time. So I played with all the characters. It reminds me of if DOA 3 and 4 was on the go. That's what Dimensions is. And I'm gonna repeat what was said earlier, that yeah, the graphics was insane even for a 3DS port of DOA. It's like how do you fit in there? I could say the same with the Tekken and Street Fighter. It's like it's a 3DS. How y'all fit in the 3DS engine or with those type of 3DS specs for those fighting games? Hopefully they would continue to do so if they make a sequel. If they do a sequel to Dimensions, maybe they could do an exclusive Switch title for it. But I doubt it.
This makes me miss handheld fighters like so goddamn much, dude, because of Tekken 6 on the PSP. That fucking game was lit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
like I
last-
I
said.
still play that.
Yeah, like I said,
yeah.
even if they were to put fighters on Switch too, it'd probably just be ports. They're not gonna make like new versions. The new game specific for it, I mean.
The last good fighting game port, I mean, not port, the last good fighting game native on a portable system was MK9 on Vita.
Yeah.
It's a good
And then
port, but
they had
definitely
new costumes and everything.
It
yeah.
was
I
the
like
best version.
I like
It
the
had
little additions they make.
Tremor on it
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
put Trimmer in the game or some exclusive characters, and I mean shit. If I have the opportunity, I would play it for sure. I haven't played Dimensions, so I'm probably gonna skip this question myself and move on to the next one. And this is about the titillation of DOA. So it is no shocker, no surprise that the DOA series is known for titillation. I keep saying that goddamn word, but there it is. Do you agree with this game being a waifu fighter? And also, what do you think of the addition of their overpriced DLC costumes for the females? Do you think it helped the game or hurt it? I will go with Brendan first.
Yeah, that was my phone. I apologize. Okay, well.
Nice default ringtone.
Let's see. What did we start first? What did we start with first? Well, as far as like it, having TNA, boobs, buzz, all that fan sort of stuff, it was made to bring more attention to the series. So, like, let's be honest here, right? given the context behind how DOA was made in the first place, it was probably the safest thing they could have done to make money, all things considered, right? But obviously, it eventually evolved greatly to become its core identity. For better or for worse, though, DOA is synonymous with tits and ass. All right. That being said, though, I don't see it having the issue of it being a waifu fighter, but obviously that does have its own stigma. I mean, case in point, look at Mortal Kombat with how blood and gore was his identity, right? But it also got stigmatized because of that. It was gonna have it's gonna be like that anyway from test of time. So it is what it is. Let it be a waifu fighter. Let people enjoy it though. But the most important thing is that the game is functional and it has its own depth and identity in terms of the gameplay, which it does, right? So I think it worked out in that front. But that being said, though, what ultimately hurt and quite frankly killed the franchise is them overselling costumes. Overpricing the costumes. I don't have a problem with them making costumes or whatever, right? But when you have season passes that cost around $100 a piece, close to $100, right? When all DLCs together cost $1,000, way more than the actual game itself costs. You know you have a fucking problem. That was absolutely asinine, right? Because there's some skins that I actually wanted to buy personally, like the whole ninja pack for all the characters, particularly with Ryu Hayabusa, because he gets his weapons from Ninja Gaiden 2 as a costume. I wanted that, right? But you have to buy the bundle, and the bundles themselves cost around $20 to $30 to $40 a piece as well. So shit got expensive, man. Like it was like inflation on steroids.
All right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
Aside from that, though, like it's unfortunate how Team Ninja tried to cut down or roll back that stuff during DOA 6, at least initially during the marketing promotional. Because I'm sure we get to that, right? That's the question, right? How DOA 6 fumbled.
Yes.
It's a shame how they did this. Okay, so I'll keep this brief then. It's a shame how they handled that situation because they could have avoided all the problems with DOA 6 if they were upfront on what they're trying to do. But these DLCs though were asinine. Like I cannot defend this, regardless of how good DOA 5 is. Those DLC prices or DLC in general so bad, very bad. But that's it. I'm done.
All right, I'll go next. So, DOA, no stranger to the portrayal of titillation. I mean, well, I'm going to be honest, considering the fact that you can move your cursor on one boob up and down constantly all over again, it is a no-brainer that this series is based on titillation. So I think it is justified to say it is a waifu fighter and it is very hyper-sexualized. My answer is going to probably be the same on this as it was for the Koei Tecmo podcast, which I said it is an appeal of the franchise, which is why people buy into these games. It's definitely a perk, and it is undeniable that it is there. At the same time, though, I feel like there are people that will neglect the, high tier gameplay of the franchise for these particular things, and I think that is understating the gameplay, understating the game itself. Definitely play it and give it a shot and give it a chance, and you'll see there's a lot more layers behind it. That being said, like I said, it is what it is. It is waifu fighter. There is more females than males, and that is what the game is what it's presenting. And it's kind of just, how can I put this? Just like Itagaki is very unapologetic as to what it is. Pretty much similar to his run with like Ninja Gaiden. You're getting high tier action. That's probably some of the best stuff out there, and I'm gonna make the best action game on Xbox, and it's unapologetically so. And that's one of the things we talked about with Itagaki. Like the style that he created is very in your face and personal, and it's like, you can kind of respect it, even though at times some of those quotes were kind of a little bit ash-hole-ish, I'm not gonna lie. But I can appreciate the things that he did as opposed to like everything else and the DLC and how it got worse with some of these costumes and characters. Okay, it's as Brandon said, if you're paying like hundreds if not thousands of dollars into costumes. You've gone a little bit too far with it. This is why most people do not like all of these costume packs when they put it all together, and it's like, I'm not paying for this. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to buy a costume for either my character, buy a pack, or I'm gonna buy last round, and that's it. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get around all this bullshit because I don't want to pay for like $1,000 of DLC. I don't know if this word is probably good enough. Well, maybe it is good enough to describe this, but you could say it's kind of predatory in the premise of, yes, we have hot girls. Yes, we will milk you for your bottom dollar. And I can see that being an issue going forward, even if they make like a DOA 7. It's like, just try to make costume packs that are justifiable prices, and I mean, people will buy them. That's another thing too, is just like, most people are gonna be like, all right, screw this, I'm done. I'm gonna try to get a mod going on PC if I can play it and see these costumes for myself, because it's like, here's my favorite outfit. I don't want it attached to 30 other different costumes at like $30. So I get the fan dismay for this. It has gotten really bad, and I hope, for the love of God, if they decide to make another one, you have to fix this issue, because there are people that do like these outfits, but they're not gonna pay like an arm and a leg for it. It's just no fucking way. The same is probably going to be a concern as well. It's not costume based, but it is DLC for the characters that are guest characters and them slowly being ripped off the stores. Like, how is that going to be preserved over time, considering that we're starting to see this come up as a problem? So the only thing I can say is that I don't like this direction. I don't like stuff being taken away and being sold at ridiculous prices, and I think it needs to be acknowledged and addressed, definitely, because people are, they're kind of pissed about that, and I don't blame them whatsoever. It is Kaneki's turn. What do you think of the titillation of DOA and the high price costumes? Do you think it's hurting the game or helping it?
Let's see. I can answer the DLC question first. It more so hurts it because no one is gonna pay over $1,000 for costumes that they could have priced at, or specifically bundled in the season pass for what, 10, maybe $20 for season pass? No, they even had to make the season passes expensive, almost $100 for each season pass they do for those costumes. I'm like, excuse me? Why $100 each? That makes no sense. And then sometimes the costumes gets more expensive if you don't buy those said season passes. I'm like, well, what are we doing here? As for calling it a waifu fighter, yeah, it makes sense why people call it that. Oh, because there's more females in DOA over than male. That's how they marketed it towards, and as we saw an example of DOA 6 of if you try anything different with it, people are not going to be happy with that.
Oh yeah, the
Very.
default DOA costumes for DOA 6 and the grinding for them, which I'm gonna save my issues with that later,
Also
because I don't like it.
Also the PR for that game before it was out.
Core values, I remember that.
Core values, the Joey situation, Evo. Oh man, just like, nope.
Yeah.
Well, Drill, it is your turn. Do you think DOA is justified in being called a waifu fighter, and what do you think of this crazy DLC?
I mean, people think that because Koei Tecmo really does push all of the waifu stuff pretty hard, because it does make the money. Like, it's no surprise that they were banking on a lot of the TNA for DOA 5, but honestly, it kind of just reminds me of like MK, where there is like a niche fan base of people who play the game, and aside from casuals, and don't think that it's like behind the surface of like all the blood and gore / TNA, it actually is a fun game. It didn't help that all of the DLC was so damn expensive. Like if you just like what Brandel said, if you wanted like just a specific costume, it was really expensive and there was no way to buy it separately. And then they started doing crazy collabs with DOA 5, which ended up getting delisted. I actually liked the Attack on Titan stage, but I don't think you can even buy it anymore.
No.
Yeah. And also the crazy grind in 6. Yeah. Honestly, it is a fun game. And I think like Koei Tecmo even tried to get away from that in 6, saying, "Oh no, this is an esports game. We're taking ourselves more seriously now." And then people got really pissed about that, so they had to they had to dial back on it.
Just a small rant here. Whoever decided in DOA 6 to, when you win ranked matches and you get pieces for costumes with each match, and that's how you basically get a costume. Whoever made that premise, you need to throw your balls into a dishwasher, because that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I hate that so much.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was really bad at launch to the point where they had to patch it to make it easier.
Because I'm like, I want to complete Kasumi's like
I want to
costume, but
I want to play as DOA 2 Kasumi, but it's locked behind the damn grind, and you're stuck with the boring ass body armor.
it's.
I feel like they did it on. I feel like they did it on purpose to make you grind.
Also, no, we're not joking. This is how you unlock some of the costumes in the game. You have to keep playing ranked over and over and over, and it's like random until you get the costume you want.
Oh, for DOA 6? Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't they like charge like $1 or something if you wanted to change your hair color? I remember.
Yes, they did.
I was about to get into that.
Like people were really mad about that. Like, if you thought DOA 5 DLC was predatory, 6 ended up amplifying that.
Alia, how about you? What do you think of all of these DLC practices? And do you think that DOA is a titillation waifu fighter? And what's your stance on it?
So, I feel like other than Brandel, I'm probably the person who has played the most of Tecmo's games outside of DOA and Ninja Gaiden. I feel like DOA's always been their fan service series, sort of. However, in DOA 6, when they decided they wanted to balance their public image, I think because they said they were going to keep the fan service costumes, they just weren't going to be the forefront. And I think people went a little extreme on that, as far as the anger and like death threats and violence, appearance threats at the office and stuff in Japan. I felt like that was excessive. But when it did come out, as a result of all that anger, they went deeper into the fan service, but they went into it in a really weird way. Like multiple people have mentioned, the microtransactions were kind of ridiculous, and it was actually like 50 cents per time you wanted to change your hair color, because you would buy like 6 tickets for $1, but still it was like dumb, really dumb. And then you would not, like, you'd have to do it every single time you wanted to change your hair color. Eventually they changed that to where once you bought a hair color for a certain character, you got to keep that, but it wouldn't apply across all characters. Like it would, like, for example, in like Final Fantasy 14, when you buy a certain color, you have it for all your characters. You can use it on whoever you want when you buy pots of paint or whatever. And I feel like Tecmo didn't really think that through, and I think they probably did the whole grind thing out of spite, because not only do you not earn pieces of cloth for the character you're playing, it's completely at random. It's not even like you're playing a female character, so you get a female costume piece, or vice versa. It is completely random from somebody on the entire game's roster. And I feel like they probably did that and added that mechanic kind of out of spite for the backlash they faced when they tried to get to a point where they would be accepted in the Evo space, because prior to that, they only appeared at Evo one time prior to DOA 6 coming out, and that was for DOA 4, which DOA 4's costumes, the main forefront costumes then, weren't that exposed, honestly. So I didn't really completely understand. Like, yeah, for Kasumi, she was completely covered from head to toe. But for, like, Helena and stuff, they still showed quite a bit, even in the more covered up costumes. So I didn't completely understand that. But I feel like, yeah, it is kind of a waifu fighter, but also at the same time, it has enough mechanics that it could be taken seriously if, like, they did actually just, like, do what they did, like I said, with DOA 6 and DOA 4, and just, oh yeah, you can have your fan costumes, but they're not gonna be the main costumes, which I don't see a problem with. But, you know, with, like I said, the backlash, with them admitting, hey, this is actually what we're doing, I feel like it kind of made the people who are in the fan base who don't view it strictly as a waifu fighter and as, like, fan service and gooning, it made people kind of, like, how do I say this? People who play it not only for the fan service, I should say. Like, we enjoy the costumes and stuff, but that's not the only reason we're playing it. I feel like that kind of pushed quite a few people away from the series when that whole thing happened, when the tantrums were thrown. And like I said, I think the grinding thing was kind of like a punishment to the fans for that, which you never want to really do that because it never goes over well when you try to do something like that as, like, a punishment for your fan base. But also, I was going to bring this up as far as, like, some other stuff when we get to the DOA 6 point more. But for DOA 6 especially, like, you didn't necessarily have to do it. But you could go into the training section and you would get rewarded not only for ranked matches, but if you just use the training exercise stuff, you'd be rewarded pieces of, like, costumes and stuff through that too. And you could get through those pretty quickly if you're familiar with the games. But yeah, I think it hurt it later on because, like, in DOA 4 and DOA 5 especially, they gave away a lot of DLC. And for DOA 5, like, someone had mentioned the Attack on Titan stage. So there is, I'm not going to mention them by name, but there is a PlayStation specific group of, archivers. And they haven't even been able to get a file for the, Attack on Titan stage or any of the, Gust crossovers with, like, the anime crossover outfits and stuff. So it can hurt it because, like, especially for documentation purposes, if you want to go back and just see a image of what it looked like, unless somebody has excessively taken, like, screenshots of that stuff, you're not going to see that or get to, know what it looks like or know how it played or any of those things when it's a digital item that is only available on a digital marketplace. And there's a lot of costumes from DOA 6 that are like that too, which are no longer available outside of those season passes. Like, at one point they were available separate, like some of the wedding dresses and stuff. But now all of the wedding dresses are only available in the season pass, which is still $120 for some of them, which is really insane when you think about it, when it's only 6 costumes and, like, some other stuff in it, like exclusive music tracks and stuff, I think were in one of them.
Hold on. You said 120 for which season pass each?
There's one or two of them which still on Steam are like $119. It's not
What?
all of them, but it's some of them that are $119. And they don't ever go on sale either. With DOA 5, at least the season passes went on sale, like, on a quarterly basis to, like, $60. And it was like 16 costumes. or more. You know, it was an actual like season pass. I feel like at first, like the microtransactions didn't kill it so much, but especially with like archiving sites being ripped to shreds and stuff, just for having like images of DLC that's no longer available. I feel like that's coming to be detrimental, having the excessive amount of additional costumes and stuff, because we can't document them all if they're constantly being taken off the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to add on to it, I was gonna say they should just do what Capcom does and just release all the DLC on disc. I mean, if you're not gonna support the game anymore, at least put it out there like Street Fighter 5 and 4 did.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. Or like the Darkstalkers Resurrection Collection, which had like all the little DLC from the Xbox 360 arcade version of Darkstalkers that they had out. Like, that'd be cool. Or like Dead or Alive Last Round had most of the costumes and stuff from DOA 5 that were available online. It did not have the anime ones, sadly. It would have been nice if it did, but you know, do something like that. If it's no longer going to be available, put out, while you still have the license for the items and stuff, put it out on a physical format so people can still have it for archival purposes.
Well, the gaming industry clearly doesn't care about archival stuff. They just want money.
And,
As we mentioned earlier, Sega and Nintendo.
and that is why people don't like these choices, which makes sense. I can see the ire there for sure, but it is.
All right, hold on, Ren. Before we move on, actually, there's one thing I wanted to point out too. I know someone may say like we're picking on Team Ninja for this. Anyone who's even remotely invested into Koei Tecmo as a whole will know that their DLC practices are pretty dog shit. Like they will sell costumes, weapon skins, and whatever else you want for any of their IPs. But in the case of DOA and DOA 5, and I guess 6, I don't know about 6 too much, but 5, it was so ludicrous that it needed to be pointed out during the discussion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, dude, I love Team Ninja, but all these costume packs, I when I saw the price and I literally saw it said like some of them were like $1,000, I almost had to do a spit take. I could not believe it. But they were like, no, that's real. That's real right there. So I'm just like, yeah, I totally get the frustration. Rat, it is your turn. What do you think of DOA's hypersexualization, or is titillation being called a waifu fighter? And what do you think of these DLC practices so far?
Is this game a waifu fighter? I don't know. I think that series creator Itagaki referring to the female characters in the game as his daughters tells you everything you need to know about the subject.
Whoa.
As for the DLC, aside from the pricing, which has been extensively documented here, there were a few costume packs that I was personally happy for because I have a feeling I am the lone fairy tale apologist in this group. They had a fairy
Yes,
tale
you are.
pack with like 16 characters, and it was more than just like the A team. They went out of their way to give characters like Kagura and the Jalal is not A tier, he's like B tier. They gave my favorite character Yukino a costume, and it was nuts. And you know how long that fairy tale pack lasted for?
It was available for 3 weeks.
1 year.
That's
One
it?
goddamn year. You had to buy that set.
How much was it?
$30 for 16 characters. And you want to buy them individually? You're a big Lucy fan? $3 each.
Yeah.
But the point is that Koei does these things for the fans, and hey, they would work together with Fairy Tail twice on 2 kind of mid RPGs. But the point being is that sometimes there are costumes that are just completely gone, and they're like cool ideas for costumes because Koei Tecmo go above and beyond in some cases to like accommodate these outfits. the Arc System Works pack they had, where everyone's dressed up as like Guilty Gear characters and Blaze Blue characters, that's also delisted and gone. The Senran Kagura pack, which seems like the most yeah duh moment of Dead or Alive's life cycle, yeah, they're delisted and gone. It's just, never mind the reputation of paying $900 plus if you want all of the costumes. If you boot this game up in 2025, there's entire rows of outfits that you just can't get because they've been gone for several years now. So not only does the price hurt them, but the fact that they can't hang on to them at all. It's a double whammy in terms of how hard it hurts Dead or Alive's reputation.
I forgot about the Senran Kagura ones. And those ones, actually, they still technically have a working relationship with them. Because, like, DOA crossovers happened with that series still to this day on the other side.
Like, the outfits are the only reason I played certain characters. I picked up Lei Fang because she had a Jam Crowderberry outfit. I picked up Marie Rose because she had a Hinako outfit. I didn't play Ayane much in DOA 6. Once she got that Fairy Tail outfit, I started playing her. It's like, sometimes costumes could motivate people to play certain characters in game if they can dress up as characters they like in other media.
But you forgot the. Go ahead.
What did I forget, Kaneki?
You forgot the most. You forgot the most important DLC that was also a limited time. My Shiranui in DOA 5.
Yes, an entire fucking character is delisted and gone from the game. Like,
Unless you
she
buy the
wasn't
physical
even
version.
added. She wasn't even added to any of the like revisions. She was added to last round as a DLC. So you can't even buy her in DOA 5 anymore. And DOA 6 owners, grab her and Kula while you can.
What?
Yeah.
Wasn't Naotora a DLC character too?
Yeah, but Koei owns her outright.
Yeah, that's a
Exactly.
She's in multiple of their series now.
You can at least still buy Naotora. My? Nope. In
No.
5? Nope.
Like, yeah, like
Neither mine nor the KOF costumes.
Yeah, I was mad too about that because I was like looking through the store. I was trying to buy the character outright because since Ren owned the game, I was like, no, let me at least buy mine. See if I can get her. Bro, I was so mad when I asked Kaneki, like, where's Maya? And he said, like, oh, they delisted her for the 06 or whatever. The conversation we had.
I was the only man at that time who still had her. I'm like, I was a lucky fucker. Bought her on time. I didn't even know she was going to be delisted either until I checked. I'm like, oh, she's gone.
Insane. It also makes you wonder, like, what's gonna happen to all these fighters that have guest characters? Like, are we gonna eventually lose characters like Clive, Negan, Terry in the future?
Yeah, it makes you think: are these characters on a timer, so to speak? And if so,
I know for a fact an entire game is delisted because of that.
MK9.
MK9.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically speaking, all of these characters on a timer. Just certain ones though are going to be a problem. In the case of MK9, though, that one also has a unique problem on its own. It's just that game. It just has a mess of a history. But let's say for Tekken 7, because Akuma is a base roster character, right? At some point, they can't sell that game anymore if they can't come up with a license. They can't just simply remove the character because he's prominent. Whereas with Negan, Geese, Noctis, and whoever else, they can remove them and call it a day.
So you mentioned Tekken 7. They eventually had to put out like a complete edition, but the edition
the originals, right?
Had the originals, none of the guest character DLC.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that bundle.
Yeah, Noctis, Negan, Geese fans, it's only a matter of time.
Yep, before they're just vanished.
On the My Shiranui thing, I do want to clarify. So, if you buy Dead or Alive last round, like the full pack, it still has My in it if you buy the disc or the actual game on the PlayStation or Xbox store, but you cannot buy her separately. So, if you already own the regular Dead or Alive Ultimate, but you didn't buy the last round version of it, like that specific, because they all have different UPC codes and stuff in the system and in the coding, then you can't buy Mai anymore. But then she's still available, like the guy said, for DOA 6 currently, but that might change at some point. So if you need more reason to buy a physical copy, if possible. Also, by the way, DOA 6 is $5 for a physical copy on Xbox. You might want to do so.
Yep, get on it now before it's way too late.
Yeah, I might have to start looking for a physical of DOA 5 for Xbox.
But we have to move on to the next question. And that is DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball. Has anyone played that? And I'm gonna start with you first, actually, Alia.
Yes.
Oh no! All right, boys, get them off.
Get them off.
So actually, Ren knows I play them.
Yes.
So I actually play Venus Vacation, the Asian version of the game. Well, not Asian version of the game. It's a Asia region exclusive game that we did not get over here, which is free to play. And it's actually pretty fun. I actually play the volleyball games not just because of the costumes and stuff, but because it actually has some pretty good, like, the first 2 games have really good party game mechanics, just for, like, party games in general, for, like, the pool hopping and the silly stuff, like, comparable to, like, Wii Sports Resort and things like that, as far as, like, game mechanics for party games. And so, like, my notes here, I still play the volleyball games. I play Venus Vacation. I don't have it installed on my desktop currently because I had to uninstall it when I did update and stuff to make room for the new update for Windows. I'm gonna reinstall it soon. But it's by far the best volleyball simulator. Like, it's better than any attempt Nintendo has made at making a volleyball simulator over the years. So even if you take away, like, the customizable bikinis and all of those things for the Venus Vacation game, which is the newest iteration until the visual novel that comes out later this year version of it, which, yes, I said visual novel, that's currently accepting pre-orders and stuff. Even if you take away that, it still has, like, the best volleyball sport mechanics as far as volleyball simulators out of any volleyball simulators. So that goes and attests again to, like, Koei Tecmo's thing of they have a lot of fan service going on, but they actually have, like, really, really good technical expertise and have a good idea of what they're doing. They just bury it in boobas and butts and yeah. I think it started off as one type of series, but then slowly changed. Like, of course, Extreme 3 and all of its, like, expansions were very, very, like, the most excessively borderline nudity fan service that the series has gotten for that spin-off series. But it started off with, jet skis and stuff in the first 2 Extreme games. And then they slowly kind of, like, figured out, hey, we're really good at making volleyball games. Maybe we should just make a volleyball game. And so the series for, like, the last 9 years now has been nothing but strictly volleyball for the Venus spinoffs. However, I did like Paradise, which wasn't really a volleyball simulator. It was just dress up the girls and then play poker, which was for the PSP. I quite like that as well. I would like to see Rio come back. She was in one of the Ninja Gaiden mobile games that we got a couple years ago. I would like her to come into the main series of it, considering she became such a popular character amongst fans. She got her own anime series that lasted 30 episodes, around 30 episodes, and it still sells copies of the DVD and Blu-ray to this day on, like, Crunchyroll and shite. So that'd be cool. But, like, the volleyball games, where all of the shit that get handed are actually competent games and have their own like lore and series characters that like we saw Tamaki and a few others get ported over to DOA 6 right before it drowned and floundered in the water. Pun intended. Beach puns. Woohoo! So it's not necessarily a bad thing, much to what I know there's some elitist fans in the DOA series fandom, which is funny considering you're all staring at the same boobs we are. Like, come on now. Even though there are the elitist part of the DOA fandom, the games have their place. And actually, there are some DOA fans who have never touched the fighting games and have only played the volleyball games because they're that good.
Rad, what about you? Have you played DOA Extreme? And if so, what do you think about them?
Not a one. I remember when those games first came out, I was secondhand embarrassed by their existence. But I will say, I wish that they would have taken the time to plant some of the characters introduced Extreme into the actual fighting game, especially when they would fill some necessary overall niches. Like Fiona fills the prissy princess deal you could throw into whatever style she would take. And Sakushi is just a dumb manga artist. She's just a big fucking nerd. Tell me that character would not fit into a fighting game. So I don't really have any experience with the games, but I wish that those girls would be characters in the fighting games so badly. We did get some of them. I think, yeah, as mentioned,
Tamaki.
yeah, that one girl was added in 6, Tamaki.
The one with blue hair and the big gi.
Yes, yeah.
Biggie.
So yeah, I just feel like it's a wasted opportunity that they're trapped in like visual novels and sports games when they could be like proficient and popular fighters. But that's just my fighting game bias talking.
That is fair. I was going to say, so depending on how, I think depending on how the visual novel goes that comes out, I think it's November. Hold on, let me check real quick. DOA.
Fun fact, is that actually getting a Western release? I somehow got an advertisement for that on my PS5.
I don't think it is.
So, yes, but no. So here's the thing. It's only going to be on Play Asia. You have to order it if you're ordering it for the West.
Oh, it's like free.
Yeah, so it's like region free, but also there's like ones that are English specific, but you have to order it through Play Asia. Like,
I've had bad experiences. I've had bad experiences with Play Asia in the past, so that's a shame.
I don't.
So it says it's going to be on DMM Games, which is a DRM free platform, so you might be able to get the Steam code and do it that way.
Okay.
But yeah, it releases on March 27th, actually. So depending on how that goes, because we're supposed to get like 12 new characters, possibly, from like if the leaks are correct and stuff. I never want to fully believe leaks and things because you kind of poopy for leaking us stuff. But if that does well, we might have more ammunition towards getting a DOA 7, which might mean those characters get brought over.
And there's also the fact that Koei Tecmo has kind of been very open to ideas of saying, hey, our 30th anniversary, they said this plural, they said we're gonna bring back some older titles that might symbolize what Team Ninja was all about. And they already did it with Ninja Gaiden, that makes sense, but they said like more, so I'm thinking maybe that could lead into something in the future with DOA fans, but we'll talk more about that when we get to the DOA 7 question. Brandon, have you played the Extreme beach volleyball games, and what do you think of them?
Well, I mean, Well,
played them with one hand. Yeah, don't not.
Yeah, upside down too. All right, but yes, I have played them. The most I've played out of all the games would be Paradise because I have PSP, so I mean, of course I would. And 3, the free-to-play version, because I got a Hong Kong account, so I can just download that, right? Yeah, generally speaking, though, there actually are this pretty solid games. Despite the obvious things about them. And as Alita pointed out, the later ones, like I think DOA 5 was the start of this, but X3 I think goes on a borderline nudity approach with some of their costumes and other stuff, right? She is right about that for sure. But I have not played the recent revision, which is Venus Vacation and obviously Prism, because that's the new one, right? But I would say like it's a shame that we lost DOA X3 because of a couple of loud screeching people on Twitter way back when he got mad. So we lost that game for the West. But overall, like if you ever, yeah, right. But overall, if you actually have a Hong Kong account, just play the game yourself though. They're actually pretty fun, all things considered, even for a free play title. Or you can hunt down a copy on Play Edge or wherever. I mostly recommend the Switch versions because those are the least censored versions apparently. Because I think the PlayStation versions have a little censorship to them.
Rip Extreme 3 to the Gooners. Rest in peace. All right.
Goon
Hoppersy, okay. I'm going to give my opinion on this. I don't have much to say. I haven't played these games. They are definitely, we talked about the whole titillation thing. These are definitely 100% super fan service degree. I will fap into a jar over these characters from what people have shown of this game. It's I think my favorite review of Extreme is what Adam Sessler did when he was talking about this game. And like I said, one of my favorite quotes, I said this in the Koei Tecmo podcast, I'll say it here. One of my favorite quotes is when he said, "It's like alien life forms on people's chests that move up and down." It's quite that's the only quote I remember, and I was just like, what the fuck? I was like, okay. And then I saw it and I'm like, well, he's not necessarily wrong. I can't say that he's wrong because it's true. So I remember laughing so hard at that dude. But again, it is just mini games galore with these characters. And once again, I'm not really surprised that they made the spinoff because it just seemed like, of course, they are going to make the spinoff with the fighting games and everything and take it to the next level. But I have not played any of them so far, and I do remember the stuff with like Extreme 3 getting banned, and they have like just more iterations and entries that I haven't heard of, the gambling one especially too. But hey, it's a piece of history, core history. It needs to be mentioned and brought up, and it's just one of those things that exist. That's what I think about it so far. Kaneki, what about you?
I said there's only one gambling one, sadly.
Oh, one gambling one. Okay.
Yeah, it's the PSP one. You gotta emulate that shite.
Oh, it sounds. They have this game on Switch too. I didn't even know that. But
yeah, I say if you want the best version possible for 3, you have to get the Switch version.
Scarlet is the most exposed version.
Yeah.
On a Nintendo platform of all things, go figure.
There are entire simulators on Switch now, so
well, that definitely kills the whole family-friendly vibe.
Like, that's wild that we have the extreme games on Switch, but not the fighters.
No, they're like, I don't know about that. Yeah, this is Koei Tecmo. Like, well, we might be a little bit lazy on that. Maybe Switch 2. I don't know. I do think they need to make a remastered bundle of all of these games so they're like available everywhere. And
so basically DOA Ultimate, but for modern consoles.
Better net code. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. I'm diverging a bit, so I'm gonna toss it to Kaneki. What do you think of the Extreme games so far?
I only played the demo of the first Extreme game. I thought it was cool. I like the volleyball aspect and the jet skis. I actually like the poker mini game when you get the chance to play them. It's like And that's how I found out about Maximilian, shout out to him and his friends, was playing the poker mini game. And Kenny shout out 21. Kenny was making them a lot of money, bro, in that game. He was like the luckiest poker player in that game.
Wait, hold on. Drill, did you go on this?
No, not yet.
Go ahead. What is your opinion on DOA Extreme?
Honestly, I remember playing the first one on Xbox, and yeah, the AI doesn't mess around. Like, I got my ass kicked on it and I actually had to learn how to play volleyball because they will spike you any chance they get. But they are fun games. I think DOA, like, they got definitely more tongue in cheek with the second game because I remember they had like the butt battle ones.
Did you say butt battle?
Yes, it was
Oh,
the
God.
It's where you would like have to like push them into the pool using your butt.
How's it? That's the first time I
So-
heard of. What the fuck?
So yes, so I forgot about that minigame. So it's actually not one of the biggest minigames, but yes, there's a minigame in the second one, and then I think it's in 3 as well, because they brought it back for Scarlet, I believe. It's not in the base game. But yes, so basically what you have to do is you have to turn around while you're standing on this little floaty block. It's basically like an inflatable tube thing. Like, not a tube, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, the floaty raft things.
Mhm.
And you're standing on one of those, and you have to turn around and stick your butt out as far as you can and smack the other person with it to knock them off their
Yo,
inflatable things.
So
And I
whoever's
remember
more
they
thick
had
wins.
I remember they had a bunch of licensed music from like Britney Spears or other famous pop stars.
Oh God.
They had Aerosmith in it.
Dennis Rodman was in the first DOA Extreme.
Isn't he Zach? Like
That's
they
true.
modeled
Yeah.
Zach
Yeah.
Combs?
Yeah, that's sick.
Oh my God.
Like, it was a wild ass time in the 2000s. Like,
Dennis Rodman Zach, dude.
like, imagine if Tekken had opened up with I don't know, Metallica. That's like the equivalent with DOA opening with Aerosmith.
I
I'm-
still can't believe we got 3 titles with licensed Aerosmith music because Steven Tyler plays the games. Oh my god.
Yeah, I wonder who he mains.
Pick
He's
Kasumi.
definitely probably an Ayane player.
Oh, okay. He's along with me then, because I play that character a lot.
But yeah, those games were fun. Except now, Extreme 2, the Extreme games on Xbox are getting a bit more pricey. So if you want to play them, you got to grab them before they get extremely expensive.
3 and stuff on PlayStation if you can. It's like $30 cheaper.
Yeah.
Well,
Remaster like DOA Extreme 1 and 2. That way we can have volleyball with rollback.
what the fuck? Why we need to roll back in a volleyball game? Well, I guess.
hey, man, you know exactly why we need it, man. You know
Ren?
exactly why.
Ren?
I know why he needs it personally.
The gameplay isn't only for rollback, if you catch my drift.
Get the fuck
Listen.
out of here.
Listen, Ren. Namco did it with Tekken Ball Online. They could do it here too.
So I do remember Tekken Ball, yes. And Snoop
I was
Dogg.
about to say, for 30th anniversary, we better not get some NFL Tekken BS instead of new games for all
Oh,
these
yeah.
series dormant.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I think they also had Tecmo Bowl costumes for DOA 5 because that was also another series Koei Tecmo had done.
I guess
They
that's
should-
what makes
Tecmo Bowl is indeed the GOAT.
sense. Yeah.
It is one
Yeah.
of the worst football games ever made. Oh my
Add,
god.
add Bo Jackson to They should have added Bo Jackson to DOA 5.
Dude, I would have took that. Like, literally speaking, I don't even care if it was just a joke or not. That would be the funniest shit of all time. I guess we have to finally move on to a question that makes me feel bad when I talk about this movie because this movie is dog shit. But the DOA movie, have you seen it? And what is your opinion on it?
I'm gonna
And
have a controversial take.
I want to go first. I actually want to go first, please.
all right, let Brendan go first. I'll let Alia go second after him.
Okay, Ren, all on my knees when I said this. Fuck you for making us watch this shit years ago.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think it's still the most viewed video we have on the channel.
It
Oh
is
my
one of the
God.
2 most viewed, yes.
Alright. That being said, the thing that makes me cringe the most still to this day is seeing Hayate and Ayane kiss. Why? Why? They're brother and sister. You fucking peasants. Why would you do that?
I don't know. That definitely sounds like an Itagaki idea.
Oh my
No,
God.
it's not.
He had no hand in the movie. He was gone by then.
Alright. That being said, though, the movie is fun to watch, especially when you're drunk, because the characters are nothing like how they are in the actual game, right? Naturally, because it's a fucking live-action movie. You don't expect one for one, right? But Jesus, when they say this is a Hollywood movie, they mean it because it's so bad, but at the same time so good. Like, I'd be happy to watch it again, but only with a couple of beer bottles next to me, though. Oh God,
At least
Screw
they
that.
have
I need to
Kevin
give you a
Nash.
gallon of vodka.
amen. All right, I drink with you. Let's do it.
At least they had Kevin Nash.
Yeah, like the cats are pretty fun. Like the characters, like Chrissy, for example, when she's completely out of character from how she normally is, right? But her just being so freaking like 2000s Barbie, like so playful and whatnot, it's funny. Especially when was it Bass broke into Tina's room and she was in there. Part of the
And he
dumbest
freaked
scenario.
out because he thought she was a lesbian.
Yep. That is probably the peak comedy of that movie though, but yeah, like no, that scene with Ayane and Hayate kissing though, like that did it for me though. That was so stupid. You go ahead though. I'm done ranting.
Okay. So I have a different take on this, but I do agree it is a shite movie. But, hold on, I need to sneeze real quick. Turned my mic off for that. The movie is a dumpster fire, but it has a lot of great actors having to deal with a shit script, which makes it kind of funny because you have all these really good actors who are really good in other things, like especially Devon Aoki. Why is she here? And then Kevin Nash, of course, would go on to do like 3 Magic Mike movies and shit and a bunch of other stuff. But I think a lot of that had to do with like the fact that they were filming outside of the US and they had a lot of language barriers with a Taiwanese director who didn't have a translator, which seems to be a common thing with fighting game movies. When they get a director from outside the US, they're just like, oh yes, we don't need a translator. Yes, you do. But like if you take away all the game knowledge, like all the lore of the games, and I did this one day, I actually like watched it completely sober and was like, this is nowhere near connected to the games. This is a standalone movie. I gaslit myself to think that. And watched it. It was just a really shitty adult comedy. So it has its place. It mostly belongs in the garbage, in the dumpster fire going downstream, but it still has a place. Like I said, the cast is really good, and like the behind the scenes documentary is kind of cute to watch them just be like, what the fuck are we doing the whole time? But yeah, I feel like if they like had actually gotten like a proper amount of time to write a script and actual good script writers, because I don't know how the hell they chose the people they chose. Did they find them at like a Domino's or something? I don't know. They've not written anything since. But like it has its place. It's funny. It is bad funny. Like it's so bad it's funny. But it is something that is able to be entertainable. Like it can be entertaining when you have like just need something to watch, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's not like something that's so bad you can't even look at it because you're just like, ugh. It's bad and it's cringy, but it's not Mortal Kombat Annihilation bad. And I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, I have some opinions on this movie. I had to rewatch a couple of the trailers to refresh my memory. I'm just gonna go point for point here and try to make it fast. Number one is the slow mo. Oh my god in heaven, the slow motion scenes in this movie are absolutely fucking terrible. Someone will get punched, and then the scene with Zach on the rooftop is the most ridiculous thing I think I've seen. It's like he gets punched and then launched, and then it looks like he's a digitized sprite. It's fucking terrible. And the movie has a lot of scenes of this characters jumping in an awkward position, and it's like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with shit for brains. I don't know who had this filmography and this bad CGI, and the fact that a bra falls in slow motion while a woman grabs a gun and the gun is looking fake, but who the fuck did that and why? And why is this even humanly possible? This game, I mean, not this game, this movie will make you think they just completely defy reality. Doesn't make sense. Number one is one of the people who produced this film. This film is produced by the great Constantine Films that produced the Resident Evil movies. So if you want to see where things all went wrong from there, their logo is painted on the side of this. That is not good.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is produced by Constantine Films, and if you know how bad the Arya movies got, they are behind this one too. And that really pisses me off.
The filmographer and one of the senior screenwriters who oversaw the two dickheads, Adam and Seth Gross, is actually the writer who wrote Pretty Woman.
That doesn't sound good either.
He didn't actually write the movie, he just approved it. So I wonder how much money they gave him just to approve the slop.
You know what? If that was me there, I'll take the money too.
There's more as well. It's just like obviously the kiss scene with Hayate and Ayane is just incest, and then I think my last criticism is just, well, two more. A quick one. Obviously they got all the characters like mostly wrong, and we know that. And the costumes, dude, I don't know why Ayane's costume looks so bad with the wig, but I just can't stand it. And Bass looks like a discount Terry Bogard that came out of a Pizza Hut. It is it is the most terrible looking discount cosplay stuff I ever seen, which is a problem with these fighting game movies. Either they look too cheap and they don't embody how the character looks, or you end up like a situation with some characters like a Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li where they don't look like the characters at all. And I don't get it. Like, you look at Nash and I'm like, who is this guy? He's just a random person off the street. And some of those vibes happen with the DOA movie, because I don't know why Zach looks like a regular like small man compared to how he is in the video games. It literally makes no sense.
You know, it was funny though, seeing the actress that played Kasumi trying to wear her outfit is hilarious, considering, you know, Kasumi doesn't wear much underneath her thing. So they have shorts on her.
Yeah.
And that's just her comfortability thing, because she had tried it without it and was like, oh yeah, no.
Really, no.
So the editor for the question that Ren proposed of who the hell edited this is actually Kai-Fei Chung, who is a karate movie editor. And then the music is by Junkie XL, of all freaking people. Like Grammy award-winning EDM producer. The fuck. And then it was distributed by Universal and the Weinstein Company, so they had the final say on the final cut.
How do you know all this?
I pulled up the stuff. Because he was like, who the hell edited this shit?
She's the brainiac of this one. I like that, but
yeah,
but yes, that Weinstein.
Rat, we're gonna move on to you. What do you think of this film?
You might as well not, because I've never seen it, and I have I have eyes unclouded by hate here, because I've only ever seen reviews of it where it is considered, okay, you got this right. It's a movie about a tournament. It's like the bare minimum of what you expect a video game movie to be. And all of this talk about how it's the bad kind of funny and it's good actors given terrible scripts, it just makes me think Street Fighter.
Which
Oh,
one?
And we all know about Street Fighter.
I would imagine the
Yeah,
first
we
one.
got two of them. Which one?
Hey now, the first one is at least funny. The Chun-Li one we don't acknowledge exists.
The first one
I
is
acknowledge that 'cause it's the only one I
legendary.
watched.
Legend of
First
Chun-Li.
one is legendary and quotable until the day I die. So I'm just hearing all of this discussion, and I've seen the first Tekken movie, and it is utter garbage. So it is utter garbage at the center of the earth.
You never
Ain't
seen
no
the
way
second
Dead
one?
or Alive can be that bad.
Have you seen Tekken 2 though?
I don't think Tekken 2 has been available to me. Like Tekken 1 is on
Ooh.
some like Roku TV service.
So okay,
Yeah.
if you want a walking
Tekken 2.
simulator, that's the movie.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Tekken 2 is a movie where Kazuya
It's-
just walks. That's it.
It's walking simulator, the movie.
And then in the first one, Jin and Christy are together, which is that
They-
doesn't make sense. But you know what? They
It's
did it.
because Jin had a girlfriend in the movie, and it was just some no-name street walker of some kind. I don't know.
Streetwalker. Okay. Well, Drill, it is your turn. What do you think of the DOA movie?
Honestly, it's not the worst fighting game movie I've ever seen. I mean, there's Mortal Kombat Annihilation. The King of Fighters movie was pretty god awful.
Oh my god! Why you bring that one up?
Without the boobies, what the fuck are we doing?
Ren, I will not forgive without me.
And yeah, Tekken wasn't that good either because they tried to go the whole post-apocalyptic stuff. I mean, you did get to see Shang Tsung get Heihachi, though. Honestly, I think it's at least you can at least watch it with your brain turned off, at least for DOA. But yeah, not the worst film I've ever seen.
Kaneki, have you gone yet?
No,
What do you think of this DOA movie?
I'm not watching that incest piece of trash ever again.
I love how we all go back to the podcast and like side eye.
It's
That's my answer.
yeah, I don't think I ever want to watch this movie again because can we get out of the era of bad fighting game adaptations for the love of God, please?
Can we start with the incest in movies, please?
Random question, but how would you feel if they tried again with making DOA in live action?
Get a good director and keep creepy people away from it.
Yes.
And make it in the fucking those engines from the games. Make it a movie in that.
Then you're gonna have people saying they should have Sydney Sweeney as Elena.
Honestly,
Bro.
just make it an anime for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a Dead or Alive anime, actually. It wasn't long, but, you know,
You tell me more.
pull it up.
Like even like fighting game animes are mixed. I know there was the Tekken one, but I heard that was just okay.
I didn't even know DOA had an anime. That's like news
At least
to me.
Fatal Fury had an anime.
Yeah.
Yes, it was in 1996 in Japan only.
What fighting game doesn't have an anime?
If there was a Dead or Alive anything, it would have been the first game. What?
You know what? I was gonna say Guilty Gear doesn't have an anime, but that's gonna be
Oh, it
H4
has
this
an
year.
anime. We just
So-
don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear?
There was a
Yeah.
commercial for Guilty Gear X done full anime. We don't talk
Oh.
about it.
Oh, okay.
And
What about
then
for this one?
And then they tried to go the Tekken route with some characters speaking English and some speaking Japanese, and there was a lot of really funny acting.
There
It's
is
still not as bad as the
Yeah.
fact that like full frontal in the dang Tekken anime from 1990 something. Bleh.
there is no reason to fight. Oh, I remember. I think the Tekken
want
anime
that
had
gen
nudity.
back.
Yeah, Tekken 4
Mm.
gen. But
Yeah,
Tekken 4 Gen, best English,
Yeah.
vibing English.
So the Tekken anime is not Tekken Bloodline, but the original one, the Tekken motion picture.
Yeah, which is garbage. It has good music, but it is still garbage.
But it's technically like an OVA, but it's a movie, but it's an OVA. It's very confusing. But yes, you got
It's
full on Kazuya. Duh. And we're all just like, why though?
wanted to show off for his devil gene. That's what he wanted to do. But
Also, he looks like a French fry. Let me just say that. Like, the way they colored him.
hey. You've had your shower scene. Now here's something for the ladies.
I hate you, Rat. But onwards to question number 10. The OA6 and its divisive nature. What do you think of this game being received the way that it did, which is a mixed bag? And what do you think went wrong for this entry? What do you think of it now? Rat, I will go you first.
3 things. 1, DOA didn't need a meter. 2, the god-awful story.
Mm-hmm.
3, all the DLC characters were female.
That's not a problem.
It's not a problem, but it's just
It's
we're
for him
talking
to
about
learn.
a game that tried to tone down its sexuality, and you're throwing in Mai Shiranui. She's back. The game is a living contradiction. We're trying to be esports, but for the love of God, cover up those waifus. We're trying to be more tactical. Meanwhile, here's a 1-button mash for free.
It's not Mortal Kombat where you pay $3 to bash a button.
Oh God.
No. Well, you can just give us money, and here's your 1-button fatality. But I have problems with DOA 6, and it's a shame because it's the one with Kula Diamond in it. So eventually, I do have to just suck it up once in a while, but I can't. I can't, especially because there's a certain game that I just love that precedes it, and walking into 6 from that, it made me even more sour.
Is it Virtua Fighter?
No, I think it might be DOA 5 because DOA 5 was so great. Then going into 6 is.
Yeah.
But I'll give my opinion on this. I might be a little bit of the outlier, but I do understand the frustration. Also, we're on question number 10. It's okay. How can I put this? I think this game is fun, but I see why this game has been roasted to death for the things that it has done. I think one of my main problems is definitely the meter. I don't get this willingness to have fighting games where it was universally known for not having meter, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this new entry, it needs to have it. For some reason, it needs to have this mechanic in there, and I'm just like, what the fuck is
Tekken
this?
7.
Yeah, I'm just like, why do you have like super meters after this point? It made sense for Street Fighter, but for them
Ren?
to like, what?
Dead or Alive 6 has a literal counter super.
Yes, I remember.
And you know how good counter supers are in fighting games.
Yes, I remember. That happened to me just now in a match. I think I was fighting Hitomi, and I was winning the set until she did the counter super, and I'm thinking to myself, wait, you can do that in this game? What?
Yep. It covers all high, medium, low.
So I lost that whole I think we were going like I was winning, it was 2, and then the guy was like he had 1 match on him. He did that counter super and he came back and then he beat me afterwards clean, and I'm just like, what the fuck? As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is too much. You're basically going against the fundamentals of making the game simple but complex, because now a guy can just mash out a counter super and do like 30-40% and you're over. It's done, especially if they keep getting like good hits in on you. I do not like that whatsoever. So I think that's a flop. Obviously, what we talked about earlier with their DLC practices and how there's characters and costumes that are very hard to grind for, in terms of at least the costumes, because I don't understand why you have to keep playing ranked over and over. You get one piece of a costume, that's it, and then the DLC is just like, well, pay a lot of money to get this, that, and the third, or pay money for hairstyles and pay money for hair colors, which is I think that is absolutely stupid in my opinion. And the last thing I don't like about this game is just it feels once again like they just sort of watered a lot of things down, made too many things overpowered for the new mechanics as is, and there's like no balance to it whatsoever. But outside of that, I've been having fun with it. I've been enjoying the online so far. It is a game I enjoy having fun with, but the downfall couldn't be any more clear with this version. It's something like, I think the best comparison is none of these issues really plagued 5 too much outside of the expensive DLC, but that's it. 5 is a way more superior game gameplay wise and keeping it relatively simple. Next up, I'm gonna go with Mr. Brandito. How do you feel about DOA 6?
All right. Well, I'm gonna start with the game itself. I've not played the game a whole lot because I don't own the full title. I only have the core fighter, so I'm stuck with a handful of characters, right? But on its own, I do think it is a fine game. It's still fun to play. You can pick it up, right? But the mechanics, I'm still not a big fan of. Like the whole easy mode button. I think it's R1 on the PS4 or 5 controller if you play on PlayStation. Is you do like this weird auto combo move, and then something happens afterwards. I don't remember exactly what it is.
If you have
But-
meter at the end of your special combo, you get an instant power blow.
Yeah, like stuff like that. We didn't need it for DOA because DOA is already a simple game. Like meter for how it works does not work for DOA. Now I know we can criticize say Tekken 8 for how they implemented the meter system, right? But at least it's a install system where it modifies a lot of characters' moves and whatnot, right? Not the best system they have, but it makes sense in the context of Tekken. But DOA though, the way it did it is like it's trying to make themselves into like any other meter type game, but like easy button. Perfect. And here you guys talking about the super, the counter super. I didn't know that was a thing. The fact that you can get almost an easy win just by using a counter super, in effect, it hits all high, medium, and lows. It's kind of ridiculous. Again, we don't need that stuff in DOA because it's already a simple game. Keep what's there fundamentally and maybe improve upon or add some little stuff that fits the gameplay style. Not just meter shit. So if they make a DOA 6, or hell, if they make another revision of DOA 6, because DOA 6 only has 1, I'd be happy if they take out the meter system because it just does not work fundamentally. But that being said, though, the game itself as a whole, from how it started out, is just a big fumble and misstep, right? Because like they didn't confess that they wanted to hide. They didn't want to utilize their default costumes for like esports or whatever, right? Until after they got pressed for it. That much I do remember. But with that being said, why would you purposely tone down your game from the thing that is known for and start any pushback? It'd be like taking gore out of MK, which it happened, and look how that turned out. I don't mind the game that we were referring to, but still, no gore or blood and gore in MK is a big no-no. So with DOA, when you take away the fan service stuff, yeah, you're gonna expect some pushback. Like as Leo pointed out, like ages ago, yeah, the pushback was a bit extreme though, but still, like you taking away your game's core identity. If they were honest at the start, saying like the costumes are going to be different because we want this game to be more appealing towards the esports, that kind of stuff, right? Which basically that's what they were trying to do, right? Then okay, fine, we can let it go because like at least the costumes are still there, which they are. But then we factor in that you need to unlock all of these damn costumes with all these parts, whatever you guys mentioned. I haven't when I'm going to do that kind of stuff, so you got to educate me on that one again.
Is basically play rank to death to get pieces of each outfit, which sucks ass. Some you can buy, you could buy some with in-game currency, but for the majority of costumes in ranked, you're going to be playing ranked for a long time.
Yeah, that's so stupid. So like, I understand you want to keep people engaged into your online component, right? Because at the end of the day, fight games are live and die by their online. But when you make it only for their online side, you're going to take away a lot of casual people. Some people prefer just to play the single player components and just get good at the game that way instead of just sweating online all the time. Case in point, look at Tekken 8, right? They have like virtually no offline stuff for you to do. It's strictly online if you want to level up your battle pass or whatever, right? So like again, none of them miss that.
Brad also said you could do the single player as well for grinding for these costumes, but hey, I mean, that's the game's final boss, the costumes itself, not Raido. So that's funny.
Crazy. How's the DLC in 6 then? Because like, if you had to go out your way to unlock all these freaking custom parts or whatever, right? Is it like as fun or engaging as Tekken did it back with Tekken Tag 2 and Tekken 7, or is it just monotonous grind?
To me, it feels monotonous.
Brandon?
Especially when you do an arcade mode run, you might not even get parts for the character you did the run with.
Yup.
Yeah, that sounds like Tekken low key, but even still, you still have a higher chance of getting the part you want for that character, right? And at least in that game, but in 6, no. DOA? That's crazy.
Brandon?
What's up?
It's the same game where they pay you to change the color of your hair. What do you think?
Oh yeah, is that real money or in-game currency?
It's real money.
Real money.
Jesus fucking Christ! But this game was set up to die.
Oh man, this is just so garbage. I don't. Their practices in this game are literally the worst. I just can't say it any other way. Well, Alia, it is your turn. What do you think about DOA 6?
So I've already mentioned kind of briefly, they delved way too much into microtransactions, like way too much. And they didn't, they did the whole tutorials thing, which was really in-depth compared to some older games in the series, which was really nice. I don't know if anybody else other than me has explored the tutorial. Even though I knew how to play the game, I was just curious because I'm always curious about how the games are going to help new players actually have resources so they don't just need to button mash and stuff. And DOA 6 is one of those games, even though people did the button mashing, that actually had resources to teach you how to do it. And so I quite like that. Even if you were just going to, like, they had a little, like, practice room thing. If you went in there for a certain amount of time, you'd be rewarded with pieces of the clothing. Now, again, they are random pieces. They're not pieces that are who you're playing or anything like that. It is chosen at random. But that, I do want to say, is one of the pluses. Also, I like the fact that you could choose where in the story you wanted to go to next instead of having to just, like, necessarily jump from person to person. You could just finish straight through if you wanted to continue playing one person's story and then go back and play the others and stuff. I did quite like that. But again, the microtransactions and the horrible netcode, because it would give you an option to turn off like people with really shitty internet being able to connect to you, but it didn't always work and actually block people with a lower internet speed from connecting to you, or from people with DSL and stuff. So even when they tried to implement that into the netcode and things, it didn't work correctly. So I didn't necessarily like that. So but like there were positives, but I feel like overall the negatives kind of weighed a little. But I did like the visuals as well, like the details with the sweat visuals were nice. And like the bruises and cuts you would be able to see was nice. But again, the microtransactions constantly and stuff. Like even if you wanted to unlock a specific costume, I don't think anybody else mentioned this. You could actually, instead of doing the grinding thing at one point when the game first came out, you could pay for tickets to unlock the costumes you wanted to unlock, which was so I did like it used to be more microtransaction-y than it is now in its current state. But even now, it's still very microtransaction-y.
I forgot they had an
I
option to
just
buy the
remembered.
tickets.
I
Why?
just remembered something really weird about DOA 6. It's like, okay, so you sock someone in the face, and they do a close up of you socking
Yes.
someone in the face, but not for Marie Rose or I think either Nico or Honoka, because can't be violent
Really now?
towards children.
Yes.
Well,
Really now?
I mean, she's act. Well, I
didn't
mean,
have
they're
that?
18, so
Allegedly 18.
So Marie
Okay.
Rose is 19 in DOS 6, but Honoka
yes.
is still in middle school.
No way.
Oh no, she's 18. Stop that.
Yeah, I remember they confirmed really early on, like, oh yeah, Marie Rose is just a dwarf or something. She's 18.
No, when they did the announce trailer for last round for DOA 5, they confirmed the ages for those two in particular because you know exactly why.
Yeah. Up front.
Yet Honoka is still in that grade. I guess she's
Yep.
gonna be in high school till she's in her 20s.
Till you're
Yeah, like Sakura.
90.
I have just a side rant real quick to introduce.
up?
So I said I've been having fun with this game, but the stage where the NPCs can like grab you, like the street fight stage, that stage is complete dog shit because some guy kept doing it. He was like a D plus ranked player, and that's all he would try to do. And if you don't block or hold, it is successful each time. They will grab you, and it's a free hit, and that's what he would do.
So, are you talking about the street level one or the construction site one? Because there's two.
The one where there is NPCs that can grab you once you knock them into it.
It's the construction site for sure,
Yeah.
because there's only one
Okay.
batch of that, like fighting on top of like the roof of a building. There's one batch of it. Construction site, they're way more prevalent.
Okay. I was gonna say the one where you're out in the street with Diego, that one they can grab you to and hold you still for like 10 seconds, and it's freaking bullshit.
It is the worst stage I think I ever played, because I'm just like, I was sidestepping like crazy because I'm just like, why is this even a fucking thing with the long stun counters? And then if someone can force stun you once and you get knocked back into the crowd of people, you can get stunned again, and then you can get stunned again. And I'm like, what? Okay, I'm like, whoever made this stage, fuck, please just do not like program for games anymore, because that is the worst like sort of fighting game stage I think I ever played. If someone can get a rhythm going, you can literally lock someone to death.
I mean, it's not as bad as like MK Deception, where you have like in death traps.
Oh, come on, the cliffs were goofy though. Like people, it's just dumb. It's just stupid. This is just like annoying, stupid.
In fairness, though, like those are better integrated in MK's case, considering that yes, you need to go out your way to knock somebody into those damn things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, watched it come out in like 5-6 years. That was one of the fan made ones.
I would laugh so hard. I would be like, yeah, this is definitely something that probably had a month to cook at most, and no one really tested how dumb it was.
Because you remember, this is another thing that they did in DOA 6 that they did in DOA 4 too, where they ran, like, they contacted certain people to do, like, custom costumes and stuff that are creators in the space, kind of like Sims does now with the creator packs.
Yeah.
Tecmo was doing that before with DOA. Was like, oh, you want to design a costume for your favorite character? Yeah. Watch, someone did that with a level.
Let's not have that back for DOA 6, because people are gonna be like, yeah, I want all my characters to wear G-strings or something. I'll be like, what the and that's people nowadays, though.
We got witch costumes and stuff for both DOA 5 and DOA 6 from the fan quote, the people who literally have entire YouTube channels dedicated to the games. That was cool. I liked the witch costumes and stuff. I liked the clown costume. It was cute.
Well, it is Mr. Kaneki's turn. What do you think of DOA 6?
Let it burn.
That's probably going to be the opinion.
Oh my god. I wish it was never made, first off.
Yep. Let it
Second
burn.
off, if only they would have just listened to what they themselves had said when they initially tried to defend the game with their first PR. Because that first PR they did for that game was a disaster. It was pretty much sealed their fate of DOA 6 in a nutshell. Especially with the core values being the subject. I'm like, okay, you might as well just not make the game, period. I just wish it could have been like DOA 5 in terms of the gameplay and more features. I feel like we got robbed at 6, obviously, but
Yep, that is the general consensus. It should have been last round, but better.
Last round was the definitive play modern Dead or Alive game. Like, bro, it had everything.
Drill, did you go yet?
No, actually.
What
I
do you
was
think?
gonna say, honestly, DOA 6, it was just a missed opportunity because it doubled down on all of the predatory, like, DLC people had problems with, made the grind significantly worse. And then the stupid meter system, which only complicated things and and just made it a lot more annoying. And of course, the stages. I know there was like a dino stage where you could smash him into an egg and then get combos off it. And then, of course, the netcode. Of course, it didn't help. The netcode wasn't very good either.
That netcode is cheeks. The second that someone has even a yellow bar, run immediately. Don't even fight them, because you're gonna be pausing a lot in the match. And
so the netcode they haven't learned from 5. Got it.
Yeah,
or 4 for that matter.
We need a DOA game with rollback and good netcode. Why don't we have that yet? It's so annoying.
And also, it's just kind of bare bone on modes as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Virtua Fighter 5 Revo.
Oh yeah, that's a godsend versus playing DOA online.
You want DOA to have rollback?
But yeah, if they ever make another DOA game, yeah, they gotta just go back to basics and not try to like overcomplicate things.
Well, the next question is going to be a bit interesting. So, considering the revival of Ninja Gaiden with Ninja Gaiden 4, do you think the same will happen with Dead or Alive, with Dead or Alive 7, and what do you want personally? And I'll go with Alia first.
Okay, so I think story-wise, it should pick up where 6 left off with Kasumi just kind of wandering, honestly, as it kind of got left on a cliffhanger, honestly. Like, right as the story got, like, really intense, it was like, oh, phew! And I'm like, really? No foof. No fly away. I'm not done yet. You didn't tie up loose ends. No, excuse you. However, the microtransactions really gotta disappear the next time the game comes out. Like, having skins is one thing, but they need to go back to being like 99 cents. Not hundreds of dollars. And it needs to be more like DOA 5 as far as netcode. Like, the netcode needs to be what it was in DOA 5, honestly. It really does. I think there is potential for everything to, you know, continue. I honestly do. But we really got to clean up some of the little nicks they made in their, you know, trust with their fan base during DOA 6. And I'm not talking costumes, okay? I'm not talking, oh yes, we need to have boobs hanging out everywhere. I mean, just the PR mess that was DOA 6 needs to not happen again. Like the oh, we're gonna have better costumes, and then you have somebody from Koei Tecmo on a stage, Evo stage, having adult workers playing with their chests. Like, what was that? You know, type of stuff that needs to be avoided. I mean, shit. Have cosplayers dress up as the characters again at E3 and Evo for you and stuff. Like, just avoid the PR mess of DOA 6 and clean up the netcode to what it used to be. I don't even care if you have to build bridges again with the people who left Koei Tecmo since then because of how y'all were arguing with Team Ninja members that stuck around after the original team left and stuff. Like, just fix it. That's all.
Drill, it's your turn. What do you think of questions
Honestly,
about DOA 7 coming into fruition?
honestly, I think if they're ever gonna make DOA, I think they should probably consider like hard rebooting or soft rebooting it just to wipe the slate clean, start fresh, just go back to basics. You know, similar to like DOA 4 and 5. Like, they'll probably put in a gimmick or two, but I think like the more back to basics, the better. Obviously, like dial back a lot on the predatory like DLC stuff because that's why people were just shitting on the game was for like $100 costume sets. Like, just let people buy it individually and make it reasonable. Also, no premium currency bullshit. And just also have plenty of modes, tag team, maybe have the story be more serious this time. And obviously have good netcode as well. Like, you know, the standards we've had with like Tekken and Street Fighter. Like, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be dead on arrival if we have a fighting game in 2020 whatever that's still on delayed base and no crossplay.
Hello, Jojo.
But yeah, if Ninja Gaiden can come back, I think DOA might be in the cards. I guess it really depends on like how Koei Tecmo approaches it. Although I don't know if they develop. I don't know if Team Ninja would develop DOA themselves or get another team, but who knows?
I'm gonna go real quick on this. I'm just gonna try to keep it on bullet points. So if you wanna, I think DOA 7 is gonna happen. I think eventually it might happen because, like I said earlier, Koei Tecmo was talking about their 30th anniversary and they were talking pretty spicy. I believe that they need to avoid every singular mistake they made in the last DOA game. That is a paramount. We've already talked about it to death with that. No meters, no super egregious DLC. Just stop. And please give us better netcode. I think that'd be heavily appreciated if they worked on that to death and give people more options and modes and tag battle and online. I mean, we would thoroughly appreciate that. More characters, even more than last round, and make them intricate. And I think you can create a very, very great game, but you have to forget about the missteps of DOA 6. Also, I think it'd be cool if they have a core fighters version, because that's also very much like, hey, you can test the game out as a taste test for free and have rotating characters. It gets more people into the game, and then if they like it so much, they'll go ahead and buy the full version, all characters, all costumes. That'd be enticing. Keep all that good stuff and add Yakumo in as a guest from Ninja Gaiden 4, and I'm fine with that. So that's my answer done. Rad, how about you?
I feel like a new DOA is just a matter of time. I just wonder, the first thing on my mind is I wonder how a game like that is going to be received in the era of Respect Woman. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Because you absolutely have to middle ground this game as much as possible. If you go one way and looking at girls in their late teens and just
Oh god,
questionable outfits, something's up.
it's gonna be a shitstorm, but for these lolly looking characters, I don't know. I just
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
like if they return Marie Rose, then yeah, get it ready for the horde.
Kill it.
Just kill it.
Yeah. I expect a new DOA, but I'm totally fine with the path that Dead or Alive is taking right now. It's like
Bro,
they have a new game coming out in the spring, and it's something entirely different. And it's sort of flying under the radar, which is honestly, I dread the day that a DOA goes mainstream.
It's kind of going there with the visual novel.
We'll see.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I was gonna say the Prism game has actually gotten a lot of attention from like actual news outlets and stuff, which scares me a little.
Yep. You should be. You should be, considering the reputation that Dead or Alive has and has consistently had for years.
Ah, yes, DOA going mainstream, where people would definitely complain if they remove the super meter. Oh, yes, we certainly need arguments like that. Oh,
The meter is
There's
going
no
to be the
super meter on the
least
visual
of
novel.
your problems.
I know, but still, that's one thing I know people are gonna beg about. Well, Brandon, what do you want personally from a DOA 7?
A good game, please.
Just like a bare minimum.
Yeah, give me DOA 5 again, but even better.
But with better graphics.
Yes, even better graphics. But that and you know what? They have opportunity too to bring over some game modes from the extreme games. Like it was back blackjack, something stupid and fun. We can have fun with, you know. Just saying, you know.
Have us race jet skis on the way to the match.
That'd be fun. I would actually like that.
Like all screen mini games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with those characters, you could take some of those game modes and put them online and just let people have stupid fun. And I think that give it at least some more content.
Like Combat Cart, when Combat Cart was brought into mainline Mortal Kombat instead of being a spinoff.
Mortal Kombat. That's what it was, right?
Motor combat. Yep.
Yo, really, I'm ended up paying off. I actually didn't like that game all that much. I prefer the mini games from the section.
MK chess, but I digress.
I like chess combat better.
Amen. But yeah, I just simply want a good game again from Team Ninja with DOA. Like 6 had too many flaws in it, and unless they're going to do a re-release again of that game, which I doubt it, but if they do, they have opportunity to at least give that game a better reception on a re-release. But aside from 7 though, like just need to get a new clean slate. Continue on this, or I said fix the story from 6 for one. Give us more characters to work with, and be careful on how you handle this breaking on DLC practices, because that's exactly why you got hot water in the first place with this franchise. That's it.
Kaneki, did you go yet?
No.
And what do you think of a potential DOA 7? Are they gonna do it, and what would you want?
I hate to say it, but I hope they don't revive the series.
Interesting take.
Ew.
Yeah, I can kind of.
I'm afraid it will get the Strive treatment. That's why I don't want it to be
casualized.
Okay, I've seen this question go around in our little side discussion. Drill, Kaneki, what would you consider the Strive effect?
Let's see. There's a lot of factors, and here's the main ones. Make it like a Street Fighter V clone of, let's make it shitty. Make it more casual. Let's nerf everyone's fucking costumes. Esports it to living hell. Have a shitty community. Shall I go on?
I mean, that was DOA 6, if we're gonna get technical.
I was gonna say,
I was gonna
right?
boil
Don't show
boil
physics.
down to dumb down, and basically toxic community.
Like,
I was gonna
you think they? Go ahead.
I'm a little curious because Strive actually has, compared to Tekken and Street Fighter and a lot of the fighting games, has one of the most calm fan bases currently. Guilty Gear is
Right
kind
now,
of rough.
yes.
You want to go and
This is
check
poor
out Mortal
timing.
Kombat
This
or
is poor
what?
timing, considering recent YouTube videos. But to me, Strive in terms of just. I was talking about Dead or Alive, and I hope they reach that middle ground of just the game is oozing sexuality when it comes to how hot our women are, and then you get to Guilty Gear Strive, and they're some of the most conservative, relaxed costumes in the game, and ironically, they're some of the best costumes that these characters have worn. Like, it's the best Dizzy has ever looked, and you didn't even need to show skin to make that happen.
Yeah, DOA definitely needs a better balance of that, because I understand what you mean. Like, Chrissy,
you seriously need to dial down some of those outfits if you're going to make a new Dead or Alive, because the last thing that a new Dead or Alive needs is a certain G-man breathing down its neck because the women aren't pretty enough. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one too, right? Because like, take Christy for example. Her default outfit in DOA 5 is my favorite one. It shows the least amount of skin compared to her other ones, and it's still freaking cool. I would say they need like a stronger balance between the two. Like, still have the sexy, but the modesty. You know, have both options available to us.
All right, so
I'm afraid that's not what's going to happen for this one. That's for sure. It's going to be a conservative game.
I think what they should do is, if you're going to introduce all these new costumes and they're going to be like the supposed better balance, the best thing you could do is at least make the costumes fashionable and stand out.
You know what they could do?
Yeah.
They could do how SNK do it the most.
I love SNK's costumes. They look actually really fucking cool for everyone. Like, you have Terry's returning costumes, you have Mai's. They look fine for the most part. So yeah, just make them cool.
No, think about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say Mai's whole like new look that's people are still kind of mad about, I think is perfectly fine. I mean, she's supposed to be like 30 now, so like you can't expect her to run around in the same outfit for her entire life.
We can't frank with you. Age doesn't matter in these freaking games, because Maya's been in her 20s since 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So like, honestly, that's kind of irrelevant. But I think it was more important is the theme of the setting, right? Because Garo City of Wolves has a more like a biker-ish type feel to it, you know. So for her, with her shinobi outfit in that setting, though, it does seem a bit more, it's like an eyesore But the fact that it's still in the game, though, like that's all that it should matter at the end of the day, though, because like the default is so fucking awesome, but the other option is still available. So like, there's no reason to get upset about this.
It's cool to have classic, but I understand sometimes you got to change it up because then you're gonna run into that opinion where someone's gonna be like, this character has looked the same for like 20 or 30 years. They have not changed whatsoever. So I understand a reasonable change in having the classic outfit, just like Street Fighter. I think Street Fighter 6 does it perfectly, but we're going to move on. I'm going to combine both of the last questions together to get through it much quicker because we've been here for like 3 hours. So this is the final question just mashed into one. But what are your thoughts on crossovers or guest characters throughout DOA history, like Ninja Gaiden, Virtua Fighter, KOF, Halo, Samurai Warriors, and how would you personally rank the series from best to worst? And I want to start with Brandel first.
Well, as 12, do Ninja Gaiden characters count as guest characters since they're in the same verse? Like, and consider how intertwined they are? I just give us because like that's an easy answer right there to say like Ninja Gaiden characters are the best guest characters because they are.
I guess you could say you could say they're just canon.
It really depends. It depends because obviously characters like Hayabusa started in Ninja Gaiden, but then you have characters that started in Ninja Gaiden that were added to Dead or Alive, like Rachel and Momiji.
Yeah, and they were not in 6, correct?
You know what it is?
Momiji and Rachel were in 6.
Yeah, they're in the story, like background and stuff.
Okay, so it's hard to call them guest characters though in that regard, personally. Considering
it's the KOF effect.
Oh, what's up?
I said for Ninja Gaiden characters, it's the KOF effect.
True. But
SNK, when they just added all their characters to KOF, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, because they're in the same world, Twine and all that. It makes sense why Ninja Gaiden characters are in DOA, because it's in the same world.
Alright, to answer the question though, I'm actually in favor of having guest characters though, because DOA isn't a unique spot where they have enough characters to not need to make new ones every single game, and also have enough to DLC them if they needed to. Case in point, look at Tekken, Street Fighter, and MK, especially MK, but there were like no new characters in MK1, and the returning ones are DLC. Of legacy characters, none of them are new, barring the guest characters for obvious reasons. So with that in mind, though, I am in favor of seeing more guest characters, but I kind of want them to be guest characters that make sense for the style of DOA. So more ninjas, more fighters. So like Retro Fighter. I mean, shit, I would be killed to see Chun-Li in DOA 7 or whatever you want to call it. And of course, Samurai Warriors. Nothing wrong with that. Like we already have one, right? So might as well add another one. Maybe add some Dynasty Warrior characters. Now, as far as rankings concerned, I am going to keep it to the mainline games and the final versions of said games. So DOA 5 is going to be my number one because it's the one I played the most. It's still my favorite. Followed by DOA 3, then DOA 4, DOA 2. I know Ultimate is the best version though, but most of my time it was in DOA Hardcore. So my opinion would change if I play more Hardcore, but right now I'm ranking 2, then 6, and then 1. 1's my least favorite. It's mainly because it's the first game syndrome, so I had a lot of rough edges, that kind of stuff. So that's all I got to add.
Alright, I'll go next real quick as for what I think of crossovers and stuff like that. I mean, usual, I'm gonna have the same typical answer. Crossovers are cool, especially seeing, the Spartan from Halo or seeing, like, at least one of them used, and KOF characters coming in, Virtua Fighter. I mean, they look real good in these games when you look at characters like either Mai or you look at someone like Jackie or Sarah. They look very good in this engine, and I very much appreciate it. as for and also, you know, Ryu, seeing the DOA female characters crossover from either those games or into like Ninja Gaiden, where you see Kasumi Ayane just chopping people up. I love that shit so much. Pretty cool stuff there, nothing really to complain about. As for ranking the franchise from best to worst, I'm gonna go with 5, max enjoyment all around. Then I'm gonna put 4. I actually really like 4 so much. Not so much the online, but the online for these games are not really that great. So, but just saying 4, fantastic. Then 3, cause 3 is like 3 is a very good median ground for what they slightly improve with 2, and then we go to Dead or Alive 2, then 6. I want to put that there because as much as I'm having fun, it's still, I see the issues with that game on a silver platter. And then I'm also gonna say 1 for my last one because it's it's a fun first start, but it's very, very basic compared to the other DOAs. I feel like that significant gap between DOA and DOA 2, you can really see it because it's like a quantum leap almost when you play between both of those games. And that's my picks for now. I still a solid franchise, but they have some work to do, and I guess we'll see if they get there in the future. Next is Rad. What do you think of crossovers, and how would you rank the series?
I've already mentioned my love of crossover characters because they take up half the list of my favorite characters. Like Ninja Gaiden brought Momiji over, Virtua Fighter brought Sarah, KOF brought over Kula. Getting Samurai Warriors was nice, but that being said, a potential DOA 7 in the sky needs another KOF character. May I suggest Athena?
No.
Shut up. And it could
Hell
use
no.
another Samurai Warriors character. May I suggest Gracia? Because she was built for that game. She fights with like magical bracelets and the punishment of the gods. And man, Gracia was my main in Samurai Warriors. The fact that she didn't get into a Dead or Alive game except as a Marie Rose costume is a crime. Favorite games was a lot easier. 5 at the tippy top because it's just perfect. The friend I was talking about that we went through Tag Challenge together. I remember when the trailer came out that Akira from Virtua Fighter was going to be in Dead or Alive. I showed him the Japanese version of the trailer so as not to spoil him. So the reaction of sheer glee when he heard the Virtua Fighter challenge sound effects, because he's a VF fan too. It's unmatched. Like Last Round is the perfect Dead or Alive game in my opinion. And below that is Dead or Alive 2 on Dreamcast because just of all the it's an extreme step up from the first game, and all of the standards it introduced, like tag battles and funny cutscene stories and rock openings and all the cool characters look even better. And then honestly, Dimensions gets third place just because of how well it works for the 3DS. It was clearly built for the console. All the neat modes, the online was better than you might think it is, and so many characters that it brought in. Like all of the bosses are playable. And 4 is kind of in the middle because we're on Xbox 360 now, so we have to make the game look pretty, and everything I've played of the online is just below par. But hey, the endings have this kooky comedy feel to them, and it's funny in some cases. But yeah, it's in the middle. Dead or Alive 3 is slightly below that. It's a solid fighter. It just doesn't have as much content as 4, and a lot of the endings show off how cool the character is. The ending where Lei Fang saves a kid from being abducted, and you get Hitomi's story in like 2 minutes, where look at me. I'm grown up and I'm kicking ass in karate. And then Dead or Alive 6 is below all of those just because of how many balls they fumbled simultaneously at the same time. Gameplay, online, microtransactions, character selections. Again, the story. And below all of those are the original Dead or Alive, because it's a Model 2 fighter that is nowhere near as interesting as Virtua Fighter. And if you thought that the AI was cheap in regular Dead or Alive games, brother, you haven't seen anything until you boot up DOA 1. Like that is child's play compared to the AI of 1. But yeah, that's basically my list.
Alia, it is your turn. What do you think of these crossovers in DOA? And of course, how would you rank these from best to worst for the series?
Okay. So my list is going to be a little different. Just a heads up, because I've played pretty much most of them, including the side games. I really love the anime costume crossovers, and I would like to see more stage crossovers, because the only stage crossover we've gotten is the Attack on Titan one, and that was 10 years ago. Almost. No, exactly 10 years ago. I enjoyed seeing King of Fighter crossovers. I like that they crossed over with, like, DOA crossed over into King of Fighters Netmarble series, even though those have kind of, as someone mentioned, disappeared now. I did enjoy, and I would like, as I mentioned in our off-screen chat, seeing some more of the girls, that the female ninjas that are all throughout the Ninja Gaiden series and all of its spin-off games make their way into Dead or Alive, as well as the Venus girls. But yeah, they're kind of the same world as DOA, so I don't really necessarily consider them spin-off like characters joining, but they also kind of are, because they're not in the series yet, the ones I've mentioned. And then as far as ranking, number 1 is DOA 5 Last Round with all the extra goodies. Number 2, DOA 4. 3, DOA 2 Hardcore, because I just felt like that was like the best port of DOA 2. I did like the cutscenes from DOA 2 Ultimate for Xbox, but it still played exactly the same as Hardcore, so, you know. Then DOA Venus Vacation, the volleyball game that is for PC. And then Dead or Alive Paradise, the gambling one. I actually liked it. DOA 3, then DOA 6, then Dead or Alive Online, which everybody forgets about, which was a PC exclusive Dead or Alive game, which had also like MMO elements and stuff, and could run on like some of the most simplistic Intel hardware in the mid 2000s. And it also like had, for as far as like the graphics for when you're in actual matches, the graphics were Dead or Alive 2 graphics from the Ultimate port. So that was cool. And then of course you had like the chibi characters you could run around the world with and stuff. Then 9, Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball for the original Xbox. And then Dead or Alive, the original version, like the original game, but the Saturn version. The Sega Saturn version was by far the more superior port of it. I think Sega consoles and Dead or Alive just kind of go together, especially in the earlier days. It's kind of a shame that Sega no longer makes consoles, because Dead or Alive looked so fantastic on all of their hardware.
Drill, it is your turn. What do you think of all these crossovers? And of course, how would you rank the series?
Honestly, honestly, the crossovers I didn't really mind. Although having Halo was a bit funny. I forgot that even happened, and I think they ended up basing Rachel off of Spartan, which was funny.
It's
In terms
really
of
biased though.
yeah. But honestly, yeah, in terms of crossovers, I'd rather they just keep it to Koei Tecmo games like Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors. Like, we don't want to like not get too crazy like Tekken did with like Negan. But yeah, I don't mind the crossovers, albeit it's a bit overdone now since every fighting game does it now. So it's not as cool as it used to be. In terms of ranking the games, I mean, it is a bit redundant, but I would say DOA 5 and then DOA 2. Probably then DOA 3 and then 4. And I mean, I guess 6 and then 1 in terms of mainline games.
Alrighty, we can finally wrap this up and do outros.
Wait a minute. What about me?
Oh, damn,
You
man.
always forget him.
I was ready to leave the office.
What
God
about-
damn it. What about me? What about Raven? All right, Kaneki, it is
What
your
about
turn.
Brandon again?
No. What is your stance on crossovers and how would you rank DOA?
Let's see. As long as they kept it Koei Tecmo with crossovers, and I guess if they want to do crossovers again from non-Koei Tecmo, they could just bring back the Virtua Fighter character and call it a day. Because at least those characters won't go anywhere. If they was to put a KOF character again, you better believe they're gonna be limited time. As for ranking characters, ranking the games.
Before you do that, I have not given this any thought because it is
What happened?
pipe dream times 1,000.
Uh-oh.
What about Tekken characters in Dead or Alive?
You know what? I might enjoy that.
I would like to have Asuka and Lily in Dead or Alive. I'm just saying.
I do too for academic purposes, of course, but
What? Huh? Okay.
For academic gooning purposes is the translation.
Hang on. Yeah,
I would love to have Junior as well.
you say that, but let me get Lily's ID real quick.
She's
you get my ID too here.
underage.
No, I'm pretty sure they're over 18 by Tekken.
Lily's is 16 even in Tekken 8, bro.
What the hell's going on with the series, bro?
Oh yeah, I forget that nobody really ages in Tekken.
Yeah, because a year has passed already, so like everyone got aged up. Even Jin, he's like what 24 now. So like, what the fuck? How they're so young? But everyone else got aged up.
I mean, nobody ages in King of Fighters as well. I think Athena's been like a high school student since '94.
Yo, still in high school.
SNK and Koei are allergic to having characters age more than a few weeks.
Like it's there, like a year is between Tekken 5 and 8.
All right. Well, let's hang Brandon. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, back to Kaneki. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Master.
Okay, for ranking the series, DOA 5 last round, because all the other versions of DOA 5 surprisingly was lacking before last round existed. And then it'd be, I think I would tie it between DOA 4 and Dimensions because I like both of those games for second place. For third, it would be DOA 2 Ultimate. And this is for mainline series, outside of Dimensions. Dimensions my only exception. And then DOA 6 and then DOA 1. The only reason I'm not putting DOA 3 is because, like I said, I never played the full game outside the demo, so I'm not making that.
All right.
DOA 1 got that Tekken 1 effect, where the gameplay did not age, but go ahead.
DOA 1 was very, 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 very bare bones. I mean, it's still fun to play, but goddamn, it's old. And that's it for you, Kaneki?
Yes, it's as old as I am in years of age.
45?
See.
27.
Well, can we talk about wishes? They could age their characters, Kappa.
Well, I guess we can do these outros at last. We are free from DOA. So I'm gonna go down the list and I'm gonna ask for people's social media and where can we find you. So Alia, where can we find you on social media?
Hold on.
Oh,
Mike
no problem.
is goofed up. So on Blue Sky, it is aaliyah-love.net. On the Evil Bird app, it is Aaliyah Lovey VT, but I don't use the Bird app. And then on YouTube, it's Cheto Time and Aaliyah Love.
Right.
You can find me exclusively on BSky at radrad.bsky.social. You can find my YouTube channel, Radrad's Rad Games, where I'm continuing my way through the Chun Legacy, showing various fighting games and other video games that Chun-Li has appeared in and seeing her evolution as a character.
Oh, just to interject, will it also include Battle for the Grid?
I don't know.
You should do it for that reason.
Well, Drill, where can we find you on social media as your outro?
Well, you can find me still on Twitter for now until there's like another change that ruins the site at Drovid777. I'm also actually still on Blue Sky at drovid.bsky.social. Maybe I'm considering moving there permanently, but it really depends on how like Twitter progresses. And I have a YouTube, but I'm not really active on it. Maybe that'll change though.
Kaneki, how about you? Where can we find you?
Well, first you can find me on YouTube under War Order. Next, until Elon decided, hey, we're gonna make you pay for tweets, just for tweeting, then you can follow me under the app known as the School War Order, and then you can follow me on the new app known as Blue Sky, and it's schoolwarorder.bsky.social.
Brandon?
Well, full disclosure first, I am not heavily active on social media like I used to, so but my main platform right now is still Twitter, so you can find me there at Mortal Brandel. I do have a Blue Sky. I do have YouTube, but that's still work in progress. I have a link tree in my Twitter bio, so you can catch all my other socials and other affiliations that way.
We got his porn stash.
You got them right.
Sus.
Doggy style stash.
Yeah, my OnlyFans.
Never mind what I said. All right, I was just looking at something. All right,
What are you looking at?
Don't worry about it. You can find me on Blue Sky at rentoperative.bsky.social. It made me laugh. Okay. Obviously all my social media is everywhere. I mean, I'm not a hard man to find. Either Rent Operative or Renegade Operative. YouTube, definitely Renegade Operative. I uploaded another Koei Tecmo podcast, so if you want to hear about everything else outside of DOA, that is up and available now. In the future, we're probably gonna do that bad horror movie thing, which is gonna be very, very funny because there's a lot of shit horror movies that I've seen, so I can't wait to rip into those later as February progresses. And that's about it for now. For Buster Wolf, we will be back Evo, and there's obviously going to be some new game reveals or character reveals that will go down, and once we see them, we will talk about them for sure. But I know maybe we might get terrible fighting game media, which bad movies, bad games. We'll probably talk about those later on.
Might make him watch the Tekken movie.
I've seen it, and I remember really
seen
not
it.
liking
Yeah, we already seen it.
it. I did not like that movie whatsoever.
Did you ever see the sequel, Kazuya's Revenge?
I haven't, but I will for that podcast, so I can rip into it, no problem. But this is the Infinite Ammo signing off with all these fighting games, and bring back DOA 7. We will see you guys next time.
Don't-
Later.
Don't bring it back. Just put Akira in Tekken 8. I'll be good.
DOA characters in the new Virtual Fighter. You can make it work. I'll be fine with that.